Then I'm leaving. Jiraiya looked back at Tsunade. I don't know why. Jiraiya always feels an inexplicable feeling in his heart at this moment. It felt as if once he left Konoha, he would never see Tsunade again. And Tsunade also inexplicably has this similar feeling. But what exactly is Tsunade, but I can't tell. At the same time in Iwagakure, Kuroto looked back at his father. Okay. I'm leaving. At this time, Haitu, who was about to be promoted to Jonin, looked at his cheap daddy. A completely helpless expression. It's just an ordinary sea-level mission, and you may encounter 1 or 2 ninjas who are hostile to Kanzi. Nothing to be concerned about at all. She has long been used to this kind of task. After leaving Iwagakure with the other 2 Chunin of Rock Shinobi. As usual, Black Soil was earnestly carrying out the task. But the companions are discussing. Recently, the Uchiha clan of Mushiba rebelled and caused a lot of trouble. Even the 4th Raikage was cut off by him. I heard that the ninja world is now the #1 fastest ninja, but is it true that he cut off 4th Raikage's arm? Why is it not true? I heard what my father said, it is absolutely impossible to be fake. That's Raikage. Cloud Shinobi Village's lightning-style chakra mode is very powerful. How could it be possible for an arm to be cut off by a traitor? The two became a little impatient while chatting about Haitu. Both of you, it's better to carry out the mission seriously. Hearing this, the two smiled. Black Soil big sister. This is near Iwagakure. No one dares to do anything to Rock Shinobi here. Although what he said made sense, Haitu always felt restless today. So much so that she was a little irritable. Their task is to go to the border of the land of Earth and escort a certain target person to the city where the guest of the Kingdom of Kings is located. Although in the territory of the land of Earth, it is still possible to encounter ninjas from hostile villages who are unwilling to give up and want to assassinate them. So this task is graded as sea level. Haitu was a little impatient. Okay, shut up. Hurry up, this mission still has a long way to go. No time for small talk. Hearing this, the two shrugged helplessly. Then he asked a little speechlessly, Big sister, aren't you curious about that rebellious ninja who made the whole ninja world stir up trouble? Hearing this, Haitu frowned. Of course she also knows such information, but for Uchiha who betrayed Konoha, Kuroto not only has no awe, but wants to meet him very much. HMPH. It's best not to let me meet him, otherwise I must defeat him and let the whole ninja world see that the strength of female ninja is not weak. Hearing Haitu's words, the two companions froze for a moment. Immediately laughed. If the big sister is big, it will definitely be possible. We believe in you. Nonsense. Do I still need you to believe me? Haitu clenched his fist. If the old man is not dead, the position of 4th Tsuchikage must be mine. While talking, the three of them stopped suddenly. Because in the middle of the road ahead, there is a person standing. And still facing the three of them. The two companions glanced at each other. Is there really anyone who dares to do something to Rock Shinobi near Iwagakure? Looking for death. Hey you. One of the Rock Shinobi was about to ask. But suddenly he heard footsteps behind him, and he turned his head quickly. Looking at the guy who suddenly appeared behind them and was less than 3 meters away from them. The three of them broke out in a cold sweat instantly. Haitu looked at the white-haired, extremely strangely dressed guy in front of him. He was able to quietly appear behind us. This guy. What kind of ninja? The other party raised his head and glanced at the three of them, and finally locked his eyes on Haitu. You are the granddaughter of 3rd Tsuchikage, Black Earth? Hearing this, Haitu felt the hairs all over his body stand on end. Such a strong sense of oppression made it hard for her to believe that she was not weak, but what happened to her body trembling uncontrollably in the face of such a strange guy? Who are you? We are Rock Shinobi. This is Iwagakure. You better not ask for trouble. The two Rock Shinobi were smart enough to use Iwagakure to warn each other. At the same time, I also remind the other party that this place is near Iwagakure, so if you do it, there will be no good fruit to eat. However, the other party smiled. Don't worry. The movement will be very small, and your village won't be able to find it. After the voice fell, Haitu suddenly saw the figure of the other party become blurred. So fast. In an instant, Haitu looked at his companion, Little. I haven't had time to say it yet. Beep bang, beep bang. 2 roars sounded in succession. In the next second, her 2 companions flew upside down. He directly hit the rock beside him and passed out. At the same time, a cold bone blade was placed on the opponent's neck. Feeling the biting chill, Haitu swallowed lightly. What do you want to do? The other party smiled. You will know soon. Boom. Haitu was instantly knocked out by Kimimaro. Sasuke-sama, it's over. Hearing that standing in the middle of the road, looking at Sasuke in the distance, he frowned and said, Go to Iwagakure to send a message to Onogi. Then we will wait for him. Yes. Sasuke didn't want to make a big deal this time, he just needed to defeat 3rd Tsuchikage quietly. So, that's when he decided to invite 3rd Tsuchikage to fight outside of Iwagakure. The battle location Sasuke has also been chosen. Iwagakure was originally located in a barren neighborhood, and the whole village was shrouded in rocks. Just like Titong, it is easy to defend but difficult to attack. At the same time, it is surrounded by basically endless neighbors, but there are many barren mountains and canyon cracks. Sasuke has already found an excellent fighting place like a sinkhole. Even if there is a lot of movement, Iwagakure will not easily notice it. Arriving at this place with the black soil, Sasuke threw the black soil aside and sat on the boulder in the center of the sinkhole to rest. Evening is coming soon. Haito gradually woke up, looking at the strange environment around him. Haito immediately stood up. However, in the next second, she suddenly noticed the person sitting cross-legged on the boulder 20 meters away. Haito lowered his body, trying to reduce the sound as much as possible. But even though the other party turned his back to her, he still seemed to notice that she had woken up. Stay there. Don't move around, your grandpa will be here soon, wait a minute. Grandfather? Haito froze for a moment. Could it be that this guy caught himself just to blackmail his grandfather? This nasty guy. Who the hell are you? You plan to use me to threaten the old man? Hearing this, Sasuke smiled. As the future 4th Tsuchikage, this temper is indeed quite grumpy. That's right. Sasuke answered her question directly. However, Haito clenched his fist lightly. I will never let you succeed, even if I die. I will never let you have a chance to use me to threaten my grandpa. Speaking of Black Earth, it seems that he intends to do something to Sasuke. However, at this moment, a hand gently pressed her shoulder. Standing behind her, Kimimaro said very calmly, "Don't get excited, sit down." Hearing Kimimaro's voice again, Heisha's chilling fear rose again. He looked back at Kimimaro behind him in horror. This guy. When did he appear behind him? Didn't notice. Still not found at all. If this guy shot at me just now, I am afraid that I would have died. Looking at the age of the other party, it doesn't seem to be particularly old, and it seems that he is only a teenager at most. But why is the other party so elusive? I couldn't find it at all. Just let her sit down obediently. If she doesn't want to, just knock her out. Kimimaro nodded in Sasuke's direction. Yes. Seeing how Kimimaro obeyed the guy sitting on the rock in front of him. Haito is also clear. I am afraid this person is even more terrifying. With the light of the evening, Haito carefully stared at Sasuke's back. Saw Sasuke's profile. Haito was also startled at this moment. Such a handsome face. Is this guy a ninja from that village? Sasuke and Kimimaro didn't wear any ninja village marks on their bodies, even the scratched forehead protector worn by rebels, they didn't wear it at all. Instead, Sasuke has the family crest of the Uchiha clan on his back. But the black soil of this family emblem does not know, after all, the Uchiha family has disappeared from the ninja world. Ninjas from various countries have never seen it, especially the younger generation of ninjas like Haito. It is normal that they have not seen the clan emblem of the Baozibo clan. What are they trying to do by using me to threaten Grandpa? When Grandpa comes, won't they all die? As for his grandfather, although Haito wished that he would die sooner, he said that he was the only blood successor in the ninja world to eliminate ninjas. The prestige of 3rd Tsuchikage and Onogi is still there. And it is definitely not weak in strength. Among the 5 shadows, in terms of attack power alone, it should be considered the strongest. The black soil is controlled by Kimimaro and dare not move. But she really wanted to know what the two of them were going to do. You arrested me just to threaten my grandpa. Sasuke. Exactly. What do you want from Iwagakure? We don't want anything. Originally, Haito thought that the other party wanted some secret technique, or money, or revenge. But Sasuke didn't want anything. Then what are you doing here at Iwagakure? If you still catch me, aren't you afraid of Iwagakure's revenge? At this moment, Kimimaro said disdainfully, revenge? Just rely on Iwagakure? A ninja village supported by old men who are almost buried. Black soil, you. Although very angry, but seeing Kimimaro's cold gaze, the Black King immediately dared not speak. This guy has a very strong murderous aura. This is the murderous aura that can only be found in killing people all year round, and Haito dare not continue to speak. But Sasuke said, I don't care about Iwagakure's revenge or anything, we come to Iwagakure for only one purpose, to challenge 3rd Tsuchikage. Haito froze for a moment. She seemed to feel that she had an auditory hallucination. What did this guy just say? Challenge your grandpa? Challenge? Yes, it should be a challenge. So they grab themselves, just want to challenge their grandpa? Since you came here for the challenge, then why did you catch me and threaten my grandpa? There are not just one or two ninjas who come here to challenge the 5 cages, or take the opportunity to become famous. This kind of thing happens from time to time. But now there is no need for 3rd generation to come forward at all, and Jonin of Rock Shinobi will usually send him away. I caught you just to let your grandpa come out. As for the threat, after your grandpa comes, you can leave. Sasuke counted the time. It should be almost here. While talking, a black figure floated in the sky. Although the light is not very good in the evening, it is hard to see clearly. But Sasuke could clearly perceive this person's chakra fluctuations. Intense and at the same time revealing a special strange fluctuation. This is probably due to the fusion of 3 kinds of chakra nature transformation to form a dust escape. Sasuke stood up slowly and clapped his hands. Well, here comes your grandpa. Speaking of black soil, he also looked towards the sky. Sure enough, there is indeed a small black spot in the sky, but this small black spot, if you don't look carefully, you can't find it at all. Just now the man lowered his head, as if he was playing with something in front of him. How did he discover grandpa in the sky? Aren't you going to come down? 3rd Tsuchikage. I've been waiting for you for a long time. In the sky, I wanted to scout a little bit, and then I went back to the village to get the 3rd Tsuchikage prepared by Rock Shinobi. He was surprised to hear Sasuke's voice. I have tried my best to hide my aura, but it was discovered by the other party. It can only be said that he is worthy of being the man who can defeat 4th Raikage head-on. It also seems to have a special perception ability, and can easily perceive the enemy's chakra fluctuations. If this is the case, then it is understandable that he was discovered. Slowly lowering the height, Onogi came to a height of 10 meters above Sasuke's head. I just defeated the 4th Raikage of Cloud Shinobi Village, and now I'm here to challenge the old man, and even captured the butcher's granddaughter to threaten. Uchiha Sasuke, your goal should be Iwagakure's tailed beast. Onoki sneered. Hearing the familiar voice, Kuroda was very excited. Grandpa, you are finally here. However, Haito was stunned suddenly. Etc. What did Grandpa say just now? Uchiha Sasuke. Is this man Uchiha Sasuke? The black soil controlled by Kimimaro made Onoki's mood more dignified. If the other party threatened him with black soil, he would be helpless. Sasuke raised his head and looked at 3rd Tsuchikage. I'm not interested in tailed beasts now, I'm only interested in you, 3rd Tsuchikage. The only blood successor in the ninja world is eliminated, claiming to be above all blood successor limits. I don't quite believe it. So come and try it out today. Try? 3rd Tsuchikage looked at Sasuke below. What an arrogant statement. Want to try it yourself? This kid simply didn't take himself seriously. I am a dignified 3rd Tsuchikage, and I have also experienced the 1st and 2nd Ninja World Wars. Even Konoha's Senju Hashirama, Uchiha Madara himself has seen it with his own eyes. The kid in front of me. I don't know that the guy with the sky and the earth is actually so arrogant, he doesn't take himself seriously at all. Too high. Just when the anger in Onoki's heart erupted wildly. Suddenly Sasuke's voice sounded. In the next second, Sasuke raised his finger and tapped Onogi lightly. The index finger slowly swiped downward. Beep. Zzz, the black thunder that fell from the sky in an instant, directly bombarded Onoki's back. In an instant, as 3rd Tsuchikage, he instinctively used the earth attribute chakra all over his body, and almost at the same time used the earth made by the earth attribute chakra to cover his body. However, although the invasion of lightning style was blocked, the impact of this sudden thunderbolt directly and instantly knocked the main generation Tsuchikage down from the sky. Bang bang. It hit the ground fiercely, and the smoke slowly rose. Sasuke withdrew his hand. Well, this height looks comfortable. Black soil. Grandpa, she stared at Sasuke. The man was Uchiha Sasuke. The guy who turned the entire ninja world upside down. Going head to head with the Cloud Shinobi Village movie, even hitting 8 Tails Jinchuriki directly and blocking the tailed beast bomb of the 2 Tails Jinchuriki. Such a monster, because of what ran to the Iwagakure bundle. And, just now, that lightning bolt. What is going on? Why? Why did he hook his hand slightly, and the thunder and lightning fell, and directly bombarded Grandpa's body? What kind of ninjutsu is this? And I have never seen him make seals. And the impact of lightning is so terrifying. Ahem. Onoki's voice sounded, and Onoki got up from the ground looking ashamed. Now his eyes are shaking violently. He looked at Sasuke, not to mention that Haito didn't understand what Sasuke did just now. Even 3rd Tsuchikage didn't understand at all. How on earth did Sasuke do it? But at the moment Sasuke is very happy. Not because he knocked Onoki down from the sky. It was the test just now. After mastering the full-level lightning-style nature transformation, Sasuke found that he could perform lightning-style nature transformation through his own chakra. In addition to being able to release attacks from itself, lightning style can also be controlled to burst from anywhere. It also seems to consume some of the dark chakra. This is automatically consumed by surgery, and to cast lightning style, there is no need to seal now. Sasuke just wanted to try out the moves about lightning in his mind. The move just now was Enel's divine sanction. But the power is far from enough. As far as the lieutenant commander's help, there is no way to directly blast a huge pothole on the ground. Look at third Tsuchikage, who is completely uninjured. The corners of Sasuke's mouth rose slightly. As expected of Tsuchikage, he used earth-style chakra to defend in an instant, a very good reaction, and his fighting power is not weak at all when he is old. It is worthy of being the only owner in the ninja world who has been eliminated by blood successors. Hearing Sasuke's words, third Tsuchikage felt that Sasuke was taunting him. Asshole, boy. Do you think that after defeating the fourth Raikage, you will be able to think freely in front of this old man? If you want to experience the elimination of blood successors, then this old man will help you. Raising a large number of chakra in Sasuke's eyes, directly and quickly performing 3 kinds of nature transformations. This conversion speed made Sasuke somewhat admire. Being able to master this kind of skill is not something that can be achieved overnight. After chakra performed nature transformation, they were directly fused together in a blink of an eye. Dust escape, original realm stripping technique. A blinding white light lit up in front of Sasuke. An extremely sharp noise followed. Sasuke looked at the burst of light from Chen Dun, his eyes flickered with obsession. Unfortunately, the speed of merging 3 kinds of chakra at the same time is too fast. Sasuke can't see it at all, and can't feel how it goes. The only blood successor in the ninja world was eliminated, and the power of the explosion was indeed amazing. Even Sasuke had to praise it. This kind of power is indeed qualified to surpass all blood successors. At this moment Kimimaro looked at Sasuke in surprise. What is Master Sasuke doing? Why don't you hide? In the face of such an attack, you should have the respect you deserve. However, at this moment, a black thunder suddenly appeared out of thin air, appearing from all directions of Sasuke. Groups of thunderballs made the sound of birdsong. Kimimaro froze for a moment. These black lightning balls are Chidori? However, in the next second, black lasers were shot directly from these black lightning balls. Chidori sharp gun. The beam of light formed by the Chidori sharp guns released by the 9 Chidori hit Chen Dun straightly. When the 2 forces collided, the ring-shaped light suddenly exploded. But before the sound of the explosion could be heard, a shock wave swept out towards both sides continuously. Sasuke's hair wobbled slightly. On the other side, Onoki suddenly took a few steps back. Looking at Sasuke in surprise, the technique you just performed. How did you do it? There is no ninjutsu release action at all, that is, such an amazing bed that bursts out at will. The black lightning style is very unique. Unexpectedly, the concentrated power can block his own dust escape. Sasuke glanced at Onoki with some pity. This power may be even stronger, but it's a pity in your hands. Onoki was stunned for a moment, as this kid saying that he is not worthy of using this power. Zzz, the roar of thunder and lightning resounded, and in an instant Sasuke turned into a thunderbolt, appearing directly in front of third Tsuchikage in an instant. The Chidori sharp gun assembled with one hand hit Onoki's throat. Although Dust Dungeon is very strong, your speed is too slow. Although my lightning style is not as powerful as yours, its speed is several times faster than yours. If you can't keep up with my speed, you don't even have the qualifications to fight back. Onoki's eyes widened, his pupils dithering slightly. This kid. What kind of terrifying speed was that just now? How could it be possible in an instant? No wonder it is called the #1 speed in the ninja world. Admit defeat. Sasuke asked suddenly. And at this moment Onoki was stunned. What does it mean to want to humiliate himself? What the hell are you? Admit defeat and let your granddaughter go. Onoki turned his head and glanced at Haitu. Haitu couldn't believe what he saw at the moment. His grandfather was defeated by others in just a moment. Spike. Right. That's right, it's an instant kill. If the other party directly kills, his grandfather is already dead. Keep your word. Third Tsuchikage is very nervous now. There is no time to think about anything else. If Black Soil can live, then he can die here. However, Sasuke glanced at him impatiently, and the next second, Daikage said directly, I admit defeat. Listen to third Tsuchikage's answer. Sasuke slowly put away the lightning style in his hand. With a wave of his hand, Kimimaro let go of the black soil. Seeing that the black soil was let go, Third Tsuchikage also heaved a sigh of relief. Boy. You do it. The old man was careless this time. I didn't expect your speed to be so fast. Onogi recalled the previous scene, it simply made one's scalp tingle. Who would have thought that this kid would rush straight up like a bolt of lightning in an instant? Who can stop this speed? It's no wonder that fourth Raikage is suppressed in all directions according to the intelligence, and this speed is indeed even more terrifying by Cloud Shinobi Village's lightning-style chakra mode. But what Onoki didn't know was, just now, Sasuke only used the lightning-style thunderbolt, and he has not officially activated the lightning style. If you directly turn on lightning style, speed, the speed will be even more astonishing whether you use lightning style or blast and thunder. Furthermore, Sasuke does not need to seal at all when using lightning style. This leads to the birth of real monsters. At the same time, the lightning style power erupted by the 5th level lightning style nature transformation has become even more terrifying. The current Sasuke's speed, strength, and defense are already at the top of the ninja world. Let's go. Kimimaro, third Tsuchikage, who lowered his head to meet his death, suddenly heard Sasuke's voice. Looking up, I don't know when Sasuke and Kimimaro are ready to leave. Looking at Sasuke's appearance, is he going to leave? Just leave him, dignified third Tsuchikage here. Although he was careless, it is undeniable that Sasuke's strength really surprised him. At such an age, one can possess such terrifying fighting power. Monster. Grandpa, are you okay? Haito came in front of Onoki, and looked at Onoki without any reaction. Checked Onogi's body and found that there was no problem. Onoki is still staring blankly at Sasuke's direction. Haito also probably knew why. Even she couldn't believe it now. The opponent was so simple, it only took less than a second to defeat her grandfather. This is people from Uchiha. The black lightning styles seemed to come from another dimension, and it easily blocked the noisy dust escape. The terrifying speed is like a ghost. Who would have thought that Tangtang third Tsuchikage would be solved so easily? And there was still no way to fight back. Grandpa, tell me, how strong is this guy? Hearing this question from Haito suddenly, Onogi was stunned for a moment, then shook his head, I don't know. At this moment, I looked at the sky that was completely dark, and the stars were twinkling. For a moment, Onoki seemed to feel very tired. He was already an old man left over from the previous era. And now, it's a new batch of ninjas, for example, Uchiha Sasuke. At this moment, a strange chakra fluctuation came. It came from the direction Sasuke and Kimimaro left. Kimimaro, who was following Sasuke, looked at Sasuke in front. He didn't expect a battle to end so quickly, okay? That's third Tsuchikage, is it hard to accept? Sasuke asked. Kimimaro froze for a moment and quickly understood what Sasuke was asking. No. It's just, I didn't expect third Tsuchikage to be so weak. Weak? Is third Tsuchikage weak? It's not that third Tsuchikage is weak, but that Sasuke has become too strong. Not to mention how terrifying the attack power is. Chen Dun's destructive power is obvious to all, even if it is Sasuke's strongest blow, just in terms of destructive power. It may not be able to compare with the dust escape. But Sasuke's terrifying speed, and the lightning style that can be released without any seal at all. The two have unexpected effects. But now the two effects are superimposed, and Sasuke suddenly uses lightning style, which can be released without a seal. Defeating third Tsuchikage in a split second is not a difficult task. But next time, if we meet third Tsuchikage again, it will not be so simple. This old thing will definitely raise his vigilance, and the punishment of God will not hit him so easily. Can't knock him down to the ground. No matter how fast Sasuke is, the opponent still has the advantage in the air. Speaking of empty commander, take a small scroll from the wristband scroll. Take some time to sign a contract with this thing too. Sasuke was thinking. The next second the light of the system flashed in front of Sasuke. Congratulations to host for defeating third Tsuchikage and Onogi. Rewarded. Soil attribute nature transformation upgraded to 1 level. Chakra attribute. Earth, 13%, 3. Upgrading to the 3rd level of nature transformation's earth attribute chakra made Sasuke suddenly feel that the muscles of his body seemed to become more substantial. The upgrade of chakra nature transformation, while increasing the power of chakra, seems to also bring some physical changes to Sasuke. But what exactly has changed now Sasuke can't tell. Now there are only 2 kinds of nature transformation, water and Hefeng. Once it reaches the 3rd level, Yin-Yang Dun will also break through. One's own strength can also be further enhanced. Thinking of this, Sasuke continued to accelerate. And the direction he's headed is Kirigakure. The next stop, of course, is to challenge Mizukage in Hidden Village. Although this is not a troublesome battle in Sasuke's view, it is estimated that as long as Mizukage is a little careless, he can end the battle in less than 10 seconds. Water-style nature transformation is able to go up another level. As for wind-style nature transformation, I am afraid it will take a little time. Because Sanagakure doesn't have Kazekage now, Sasuke can only rely on his own practice to continuously improve. Or use wind style as much as possible when fighting people. Speed? Up wind style nature transformation boost. But what Sasuke didn't expect was, not long after leaving Iwagakure's range, Sasuke sensed the chakra fluctuations of his acquaintance. Sasuke looked into the forest in the distance. Deidara and the Scorpion. These two guys are here, are they coming for me? Hearing Sasuke's words, Kimimaro quickly asked, Master Sasuke, are they Wu who want to report to Cloud Shinobi Village? Revenge? No. There is no such thing as revenge among members of the Akatsuki organization. For these two guys to come here, it means that they have made Nagato or Obito angry. That's right, you made a big fuss about Cloud Shinobi Village yourself. Not only did he defeat Eight Tails Jinchuriki, but he also seriously injured Raikage directly. When he had the opportunity to take away Eight Tails and even take away the second tail, he didn't do anything. And because of this incident, the Akatsuki organization was completely missed by the 5 major powers in the ninja world. It can be said that the Akatsuki organization did not get anything, but instead took the blame for Sasuke. Now the whole ninja world knows. Some people wanted to capture the tailed beast, and also recruited the rebels from various ninja villages. Although there is no action against the Akatsuki organization yet, once the investigation is clear. Presumably there will be actions against the Akatsuki organization soon. So Nagato's anger, or Obito's anger, Sasuke can fully understand. But just sending these two gadgets to deal with him, this is how underestimated himself. Sasuke stopped in his tracks. And at this time Kimimaro stepped forward. Master Sasuke, are these two people in that forest? Then leave it to me to deal with it. For Deidara and Scorpion, Kimimaro is also eager to fight them. Because these two people can create some pressure on Kimimaro, but it is difficult to kill Kimimaro. So Kimimaro also wants to use the two to hone himself a little bit. Sasuke was about to agree just now, but he froze in the next second. Crazy learning. During the battle, successfully learn the puppet technique of the Scorpion, or learn the secret technique of Deidara, detonate the clay. Learn one type, you can get a reward. Any chakra attribute nature transformation can be upgraded by 1 level. Learn 2 kinds, you can get rewards. 1 chance to develop S-level ninjutsu in ninjutsu laboratory. Sasuke froze suddenly. Just now he wanted Kimimaro to deal with the two of them as soon as possible, but now Sasuke is in a daze. Study. Learn the art of 2 people. How could the system suddenly give this kind of task? You also need to know that neither the puppet technique nor the detonating clay technique can be learned by copying with Sharingan during the battle. Puppetry is Sanagakure's secret technique. If there is a puppeteer who can teach him in detail, Sasuke believes that it will not be long before he can learn it. But the problem now is that no one has carefully taught themselves. Is it possible to learn the puppet technique just by observing the Scorpion in battle? The same is true for Deidara's secret technique of detonating clay. This guy doesn't seem to be a blood follower, but he can create a technique similar to explosion style. Regardless of whether it is blood succession limit or not, it is not so easy to master their skills. Not to mention learning in battle. Is this possible? Sasuke froze in place. Kimimaro didn't know what happened to Sasuke. Get ready to step forward directly. Master Sasuke, don't worry. These two people have no way to defeat me yet. You just need to wait for me for a while, and I will be able to deal with them. Saying that, Kimimaro is ready to enter the forest. And this time Sasuke frowned slightly. Wait. Kimimaro, Deidara will be handed over to you later, but you can't kill him, I want to have fun with them. Although this order is a bit strange, not able to kill Deidara, but he left it to himself to deal with. Could it be that Sasuke-sama wants to simply hold him back? Is it okay to hold on? What is Sasuke-sama planning to do? And at this time Sasuke has already walked forward. The other parties seem to have been waiting for him here for a long time. Anyway, let's go up and have a chat. Sasuke went straight to the forest first, and Kimimaro silently followed behind. After entering the forest, Sasuke's eyes were all on a big tree in the distance. A hunched figure was standing under a tree, quietly waiting for something. However, although he hadn't seen his face clearly yet, it was already very clear just based on the suit of Shao organization's clothes on the other party. The person in front of him is the Red Sand Scorpion. A former genius puppeteer. Sasuke stopped 10 meters behind the Scorpion. Although this is a forest, this area is covered by the trees in front of the Scorpion. The dense leaves spread out over an area of more than 20 square meters. Such a range of this tree can be called a rare giant tree. Finally come. Didn't you expect it to end so soon? Your battle with third Tsuchikage. Scorpion slowly turned his head to look at Sasuke. It seems that this guy already knew his whereabouts? Right. That guy should be watching nearby. But it should not dare to get too close to itself, some meaning Sasuke also mastered wood style. If the distance is too close, Sasuke can easily sense his position. Are you two waiting for me? As soon as Sasuke opened his mouth, the scorpion was slightly taken aback. Is this the discovery of Deidara's breath? Sure enough, hiding is useless. This kid does have some kind of ability to perceive chakra fluctuations. Didn't you come to challenge third Tsuchikage? Why did you leave so soon? It seems that third Tsuchikage did not accept your challenge. I heard that Sasuke didn't want to explain too much. Tell this guy that he has defeated third Tsuchikage, I'm afraid he won't believe it. After all, it hasn't been long, and they haven't heard anything. It's impossible to believe that Sasuke killed third Tsuchikage in a flash. You don't need to worry about this, shouldn't you worry about your own problems now? Waiting for me here specially, are you really sure to kill me? As Sasuke said, a white spider next to him burst out of the ground. But in the next second, a slender lightning-style bolt directly penetrated the spider's body. Isn't Deidara uncomfortable hiding down there? After being exposed by Sasuke, Deidara slowly emerged from the ground. He looked at Sasuke with a very strange expression. How did he know that lightning style could restrain his desire to explode? Just 1,000 copies of lightning style can prevent your own bomb from detonating. What kind of monster is this guy? Deidara came out from the ground and looked at Sasuke gravely. Scorpion still smiled at this moment. I told you a long time ago, it's useless. This guy has a special ability to sense chakra. In the past, Deidara would definitely refute, but now Deidara just looks at Sasuke silently without saying a word. The leader sent you to kill me? Catch you. Scorpion replied directly. If you resist, you can shoot directly, even if you kill it, it doesn't matter. For the tailed beast of Cloud Shinobi Village? The scorpion didn't answer this time, but the answer was already very obvious. Sasuke nodded. Originally, I didn't want to trouble Akatsuki, because it has nothing to do with me, but since you want to trouble me, then come. However, I still have to advise you to think clearly, once you are defeated by me, you will die. Sasuke's momentum is very strong now, but Scorpion and Deidara are no ordinary ninjas. Maybe ordinary ninjas will be intimidated by Sasuke's aura, but Scorpion and Deidara are not. Both of them are not ordinary ninjas, not to mention their strength, but to say that their thinking is different from ordinary people. Scorpion smiled. HMPH, dead? I've already died. Hearing what he said, Sasuke also nodded, and what he said was indeed a person who had already died once. Naturally, there is no fear of death or anything. Well, that's good, then let me see how your puppetry is. Said Sasuke glanced at Deidara. Kimimaro, hold him and wait for me. Kimimaro nodded and looked at Deidara. And at this moment Deidara looked at Kimimaro with a frown. This guy wants to be his opponent? Hey. Sasuke, let this guy be my opponent. My target is you. Are you looking down on me? Hearing this, Sasuke shook his head. Don't worry, it will be your turn soon. And saying that makes Scorpio feel very uncomfortable. Sasuke seems to be saying that he can solve himself casually. Snort. Arrogant boy. The moment Sasuke turned his head to look at the scorpion. This guy stepped back suddenly and took out a scroll without hesitation. Boom. Under Sasuke's gaze, a puppet was directly summoned. And looking at the puppet that appeared in front of him, Sasuke froze for a moment. Deidara smiled. Senior, are you going to use your whole cards right now? Scorpion pouted lightly, facing him. I won't be careless in the slightest. The white smoke dissipated, and what appeared in front of him was third Kazekage, to be precise, third Kazekage made into a puppet by the scorpion. In Scorpion's eyes, he directly used the strongest whole card when he came up, and he was still worthy of respect. I will also help you, senior. Deidara said that he wanted to do something, but in the next second a series of bone bullets flew towards him, and Deidara dodged in embarrassment. There was also a gash on his face. Kimimaro slowly lowered his right hand, staring at him extremely indifferently. Your opponent is me. Deidara gritted his teeth lightly. The bastard unexpectedly launched an attack. If he didn't dodge quickly, he might have been killed. Deidara, who looked down on Kimimaro at first, had to cheer up now. This guy's strength is also not weak. Swish. Suddenly Kimimaro accelerated and rushed over, which was already completely crushing speed compared to Deidara. Deidara hastily created a white bird out of detonating clay, jumped onto the bird's back, and kept the distance from Kimimaro while gaining air superiority. Sasuke glanced at the situation here indifferently, then turned to look at Chie. Puppetry. Wanting to learn in battle, Sasuke doesn't have much confidence. Slowly close your eyes and open them again. Mangekyo Sharingan is on. Seeing Sasuke open his eyes instantly, Chie's heart twitched suddenly. But from the side, Sasuke obviously recognized his strength by opening his eyes as soon as he came up. This makes Scorpio feel great. And at this moment when Sasuke turned on the Sharingan again, staring at the scorpion at this moment watching the flow of chakra of the scorpion. Sharingan has the ability to see the flow of chakra, and this is not the first time Sasuke has used it. It's just that compared to the past, Sasuke's most important use of observing the enemy's chakra flow is to judge the enemy's actions. And now, Sasuke felt as if he saw something different. As if flowing through the chakra of the scorpion, Sasuke has been vaguely aware of the puppetry. What the hell is going on? Super Insight. After discovering this situation, Sasuke directly opened the Super Insight. In Sasuke's eyes, the body of the scorpion seemed to be magnified suddenly. The flow of chakra is seen more clearly. At this moment Sasuke was slightly taken aback. Is this the mystery of puppetry? If you look carefully, you can actually see it. When Sasuke looked at the puppet art and felt extremely surprised, the scorpion at this time stared at Sasuke. I don't understand why Sasuke seems to be in a daze all of a sudden. But this is a good time for him to make a move. Take direct control of third cage to start the attack. The iron sand condensed out of thin air formed sharp needles and shot straight toward Sasuke. Sasuke's gaze still didn't leave Scorpion's body. Hands up. Thunder and lightning instantly formed a grid in front of him. Block all the sand and iron Chianban that is oncoming lacing. However, the Scorpion's attack did not end like this. It is quite normal for the attack to be blocked, he. The third generation puppet moved rapidly, and at the same time, there were more sand and iron condensed beside it. Immediately afterwards, a huge wave of sand and iron swept in the direction of Sasuke. Sasuke's sight was blocked, and he suddenly pulled out the Kusanagi sword behind him, and lightning flashed on the blade. Followed by a knife. Clang, directly split the huge wave of sand and iron that swept across in an instant. Thunder and lightning flowed continuously on the blade. Scorpion looked at Sasuke in surprise. How could third cage's magnet style be so vulnerable in front of Sasuke? Waving both hands, control the third cage again to launch a new round of attacks. Sasuke held the Kusanagi sword in one hand, and thunder burst. However, there has been no active attack, just passive Fang Min. Gazing at the scorpion, watching the flowing chakra of the scorpion change again and again. The mystery of puppetry seems to be unfolding in Sasuke's eyes bit by bit. If there is a so-called progress bar on the top of Sasuke's head now, then you can easily see it. Sasuke's comprehension of puppetry, with each change of control of the scorpion, made third cage launch a new round of attacks. We'll go up a bit. If we continue to maintain this speed, I'm afraid it won't be long before Sasuke can consolidate and thoroughly master the puppet art. And now, while blocking third cage's attack, Sasuke stared at the side of the scorpion. It is found that his chakra flow changes have no new tricks, and it seems that the control of single puppet is probably the same. If you want to continue to master more, then Sasuke needs to put more pressure on the scorpion. His eyes locked on the floating in the air, he was condensing the sand and iron into a huge cylinder, and wanted to bombard his third cage puppet. Sasuke put the Kusanagi sword into the scabbard directly. Moment. Enter lightning style speed mode. Flash. Crackling, the beating thunder, the flashing thunder, the roaring electric current. With Sasuke's sudden disappearance, he went straight to the third cage puppet. Chakra condenses, strange power explodes, bang bang. Punch. Scorpion froze, the chakra thread in his hand snapped. The cylinder formed by the condensed sand and iron in the air was blown up, and even the third cage puppet was destroyed by one punch. Such a terrifying destructive power makes Chie feel a little dignified. Even the strongest puppet in his hands. The third cage was so simple, it was destroyed by one blow so easily. And even the defense with magnet style was instantly broken. This guy's strength has completely reached the point of terror. At this time, Chie suddenly remembered that the information from Cloud Shinobi had already been said. He has been able to go head-to-head with fourth Raikage. Then it means that Sasuke's strength is no longer generally terrifying. It is impossible to defeat Sasuke by relying on third cage alone. Hateful. If even third cage's puppet can't do anything about it, then the scorpion's continuing to hide will have no effect. Boom. jumped out directly from the crimson luhu. Scorpion, who had completely transformed himself into a puppet, revealed his true colors for the first time. Even Deidara and Kimimaro, who were in a fierce confrontation, heard this movement. He couldn't help turning his head to take a look. The third cage puppet smashed by Sasuke's punch made Devola almost dumbfounded. This is Senior Scorpion's most powerful puppet. So it was solved by. However, Deidara was also stunned when he saw Shie himself jumping out of the crimson amber. As this. What Senior really looks like. What a great decision to transform myself into a puppet. Seeing such a scorpion, Deidara was completely excited even himself. It turned out that not only he himself made such a decision, but also the seniors. As expected, he is a senior recognized by Deidara. Sasuke looked at Scorpio's current state. The puppeteer became a puppet himself. This is quite ironic. But the scorpion doesn't seem to think there is anything but is very proud of it. You don't understand. This is where puppetry is really powerful. It is absolutely impossible for me to be killed by you now, and you will never be able to kill me, so our battle has just begun. Saying that, Scorpion pulled out a scroll from behind. General ninjutsu scrolls and the like are no longer needed for scorpions. Because the monster in front of him must be able to easily block that level of attack. So, to deal with Sasuke, only rely on puppets. Boom. As the scorpion will be opened, dense puppets appear in the sky. Sasuke looked up at these puppets, and Scorpion said at this time, for a puppeteer, the number of puppets he can control can determine the level of his puppetry. As for me, I can control hundreds of puppets at the same time, and my puppet technique even surpasses second cage. As he said that, the scorpion directly opened the cover on his chest, and the chakra silk thread shot out. Control all these puppets at once. Red secret technique, performance with 100 machines. For Sasuke with such a large number, the regiment can allow Sasuke to see the flow of chakra that makes the puppet more clearly. Mangekyo Sharingan's pupil power exploded wildly. Coupled with the super insight of the pupil technique, it provides Sasuke with the most detailed chakra flow. Sasuke, my puppet technique can easily destroy a country. Let me show you how powerful the puppet technique is. KK. The sound of the puppet's activities continued to sound, and these sounds were a noise in Sasuke's ears. As the scorpion began to control the puppet to attack Sasuke. And at this moment Sasuke didn't directly destroy these puppets. On the contrary, for the current Sasuke, only by maximizing the difficulty of keeping the scorpion in controlling the puppet can he see more details. And it will be easier and faster for him to master the puppet technique of the scorpion. Watch the flow of chakra in the scorpion and watch the flickering threads of chakra in the air. Although in the eyes of ordinary ninjas, this is information that is extremely difficult to capture in a flash. But for Sasuke who owns the Mangekyo Sharingan, it is not difficult to see them, and it is very easy to capture even subtle changes. Bang bang bang. The crazy impact of these puppets, although numerous, basically blocked Sasuke's hiding space. But even if only turning on Chidori style, it can guarantee that Sasuke himself will not be broken by the attacks of these puppets. Although there are quite a few puppets, their attacks are always just physical attacks. There is nothing to be afraid of at all. Coupled with Sasuke's speed, dodging the attacks of these golems is too easy. But on the surface, it still looks like Sasuke is wrapped in a puppet, and there is no way to get out of it. Can only dodge constantly. Hearing the intense roar, Kimimaro looked in Sasuke's direction. I saw that Sasuke was surrounded by countless puppets. Facing the crazy attacks of the puppets, Sasuke could only dodge. However, Sasuke did not fight back. Kimimaro was a little puzzled. Sasuke-sama. What are you doing? Why don't you fight back? Although there are quite a few puppets, it should be easy for Sasuke to destroy things like puppets. Sasuke-sama. What are you trying to do here? While Kimimaro was thinking, Deidara on the side was a little angry. Bone monster. Where are you looking at? Do you dare to distract yourself and look at other places after fighting with me? Boom boom. With the appearance of two explosions, Kimimaro was instantly engulfed in flames. And at the same time, Sasuke also had a smile on his face. So that's it, this is puppetry. Congratulations to host, mastered the secret technique plus puppet technique. Red secret technique, puppet technique, beginner. Seeing the prompt from the system, Sasuke raised his hand to avoid the puppet and stabbed at the moment. Directly cut off the dozens of puppets rushing towards him with the knife. Thunder and lightning raged. First, Sasuke made a move. But Shie didn't care too much, just a small part of puppets were destroyed, it doesn't matter. But then Sasuke made a move, so the scorpion wouldn't have much time to react. Bang bang bang. The roar was accompanied by the sound of thunder and lightning, and Sasuke shuttled among the puppets. The black lightning flashed instantly, and in the blink of an eye, basically killed half of the puppets of Scorpion. And Shie stared at Sasuke in surprise. The speed of destroying his own puppet is too fast. It won't be long before this goes on, and I'm afraid all the puppets will be destroyed. Just thinking about it, Scorpio's eyes suddenly turned slightly. A puppet that had already fallen to the ground slowly stood up, grabbed the sickle in his hand, and looked towards his position. The body of the puppet is connected with chakra silk thread. Yet these chakra threads are not released from his body, but from the direction of Sasuke. Shie was stunned. This is the tomb. Cluck cluck. The puppet stood up slowly and looked at Scorpion, although the puppet's eyes were nothing but two pieces of wood. But at this moment, the Scorpion seemed to have seen something extremely terrifying. The expression is very shocking. The other puppets have completely stopped at this moment. In such a huge forest, there is only the sound made by such a puppet. The sudden silence is also particularly easy to attract people's attention. Udara and Kimimaro are fighting in the distance. He also slowly turned his head and looked in the direction of Sasuke and Scorpion. The picture they saw made them both seem to be frozen in an instant. Incredible. That puppet is. Deidara spoke with slightly trembling lips. Blinking his eyes, Deidara thought he was wrong, but after double-checking several times, surely he wasn't mistaken. But really, Sasuke, waving his hands, is manipulating a puppet. This. How? Possible. Why is this guy doing puppetry? Impossible. Puppet art is Sanagakure's secret art. How could it leak so easily? So Sasuke has no way to learn puppetry at all. But the question is how to explain the scene in front of you now. As Sanagakure's secret technique, and a well-known secret technique in the ninja world, it was actually displayed in the hands of Sasuke. This guy. How on earth did he do it? Scorpion was silent for a few seconds. When he saw that Sasuke was just like a novice, trying to use puppetry to control the puppet to make various actions, at this moment Scorpion already had a guess in his mind. But he didn't believe that there was really someone who could reach such a level of genius. In battle it is. Sasuke, your puppetry. How did you learn it? Scorpion still asked the question. And Sasuke was studying the puppet, looking at the Scorpion not far away, especially when he saw the surprised look in the opponent's eyes. Sasuke smiled. Didn't you already guess it? Scorpion. Although I guessed it, Scorpio didn't believe it was impossible. How could puppetry be easily learned just because Sasuke glanced at it? How long has it been fighting? 5 minutes. Maybe even less than 5 minutes. How can he master the puppet art in such a short period of time? The chakra thread released by puppetry, that's all. It already takes a ninja who knows how much time to practice before he can release chakra into silk threads. However, it may be difficult for other ninjas, but for Sasuke. Quite simply, because Sasuke himself controls the level of chakra, he has come to ultimate. Turning chakra into silk thread may not be proficient at first, but with a little thought, Sasuke can easily do it. And I want to use the puppet technique to cooperate with the special flow of chakra, so that the chakra silk thread will be completely changed. Changes to the control string that controls the puppet, which has been copied from the Scorpion by Sasuke. No. 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 Even if you are Uchiha, even if your Sharingan can copy my movements, it is absolutely impossible to copy my secret technique so easily. Scorpion's expression was a bit ferocious. As a genius of puppetry, Sasuke's other talents showed that he didn't care, but puppetry was not good. It is absolutely impossible for anyone to surpass him in puppetry talent. HMPH. You think this kind of bluff can scare me? I'll let you see what real puppetry is. As the Scorpion roared, the surrounding puppets floated instantly. Start the activity again. In a flash, Sasuke once again led the siege of the puppets, but this time Sasuke didn't plan to do it himself. Use the puppet in front of you to deal with the puppet, so that you can easily polish your puppet technique. Boom. The moment the first puppet swung its sickle and rushed towards Sasuke, the puppet controlled by Sasuke was cut in half directly in midair. In the next second, Sasuke's puppet took the initiative to attack. A few consecutive knives directly destroyed all the puppets that were close to each other. Watching Sasuke's puppet move from the rusty first step, and then a few breaths later, the movement became more and more smooth. It's even completely indistinguishable from a real person. It was as if a puppeteer who had just learned puppetry had stepped into a state of proficiency in an instant. This process takes years or even decades for ordinary people to do. And even for the genius puppet master Shie, it took a few days to fully grasp it. Sasuke. Just a few seconds? In a few seconds, he completed the results that others could only cultivate for years or decades. This guy is the real puppet genius. No, wouldn't, impossible. Xie shook his head. Now he had begun to doubt himself, but if he wanted to regain his pride, he had only one choice. Defeat Sasuke with puppetry. At the very least, defeat Sasuke's puppet with the puppet. Suddenly the puppets around turned around and all rushed towards Sasuke's puppets. Seeing this, Sasuke also smiled. Is it a contest of puppetry? Just let yourself harvest a wave of experience. All the 10 fingers of both hands manipulate a puppet, although Sasuke's puppet is the same as the scorpion's puppet. But the level of flexibility is quite different. At this moment, the ordinary puppet seemed to come to life in Sasuke's hands. Crazy attacks at the puppets around. At this moment, Sasuke was immersed in the promotion of puppetry, while lamenting that he finally understood why Sharingan was able to copy ninjutsu. However, the secret technique cannot be copied. Because ordinary ninjutsu requires very simple release conditions. You only need to master the corresponding chakra nature transformation, and then you can release it easily. Use Sharingan to copy enemy movements and chakra flow. It can be done easily. However, why the secret technique cannot be copied is not that the Sharingan cannot be copied, but that the secret technique has requirements other than the basic chakra. Usually there are other special requirements. For example, the current puppetry. If your own chakra control level has not reached the level above Dacheng, even if you copy the movement and the way chakra flows, it can't be used either, because Sasuke's chakra controls this ability, and there is no way to improve it simply by copying it. Therefore, if the special requirements required by the copying secret technique cannot be met, it will naturally not be released. Sasuke looks at the scorpion. This time, Scorpion indirectly opened the door to a new world for himself. In addition to 5 escape ninjutsu, I may also be able to learn a lot of secret arts, as long as I meet more advanced conditions. Then you can master all these secret techniques. The battle with the scorpion is, to be precise, a battle between puppet arts. The two fought fiercely. 3 of Sasuke's puppets were destroyed in succession. But there are too many puppets here, and Sasuke can easily control any of them. And as time went by, Scorpion's heart became more and more shocked. Because Sasuke's puppetry is rapidly improving as if sitting on a rocket. From the fixed combat mode at the beginning, Sasuke's varied attacks can be changed instantly in different situations. And now, Sasuke spread out one hand and started trying to control the 2 puppets at the same time. Congratulations to the upgrade of host puppet art. Red secret technique, puppet technique, skilled. And this is just the beginning. The reduction of Scorpion's puppets also made his control over each puppet stronger. The enhancement of Sasuke's puppet technique also strengthens the control over the puppet. The two are evenly matched, but when it comes to the speed of change, Scorpion is not as good as Sasuke. Because as the battle passed for 3 minutes, after Sasuke's 2 puppets worked together to destroy the 5 puppets again, Sasuke's 3rd puppet appeared. Control 3 golems at the same time. This means that Sasuke's puppetry has taken it to the next level. In the following time, every passing minute Sasuke will add 1 more puppet. 10 minutes. When 10 puppets appeared in front of Scorpion, each of them had astonishing fighting power. Not even losing to him. His 10 puppets. Hundreds of machines were performed, and there were hundreds of puppets, and now there are only 20 puppets left. At this moment, both Deidara and Kimimaro have stopped, watching Sasuke and Scorpion's puppet confrontation. One is a puppet genius in the past, and the other is a monster with amazing talent today. In the battle, he not only learned the enemy's puppet technique, but even used the enemy's technique to deal with the enemy. In the melee of 20 puppets, the pride in Shia's heart was completely torn apart. Sasuke's puppetry is not stronger than him, but Sasuke's eyes have a unique advantage. The control of puppets by puppet art depends on the strength of puppet art. What's more important is the reaction, which is the puppeteer who sees the different situations encountered by each puppet at the first time, and makes corresponding manipulations. And under this condition, Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan plus the pupil technique of super insight. Complete abuse of scorpions. The final puppet contest is over. Sasuke has 9 puppets left, and Scorpion's puppets are all defeated. Seeing Sasuke, who was controlling 9 puppets entrenched around his body, Scorpion took 2 steps back. The whole person froze in place. Impossible. Impossible. He shook his head frantically. The other party only learned his own puppetry through copying. How could it be possible to become stronger than yourself? And he defeated himself with the puppet technique he was most proud of. If he loses to Sasuke's other abilities, he won't have any problems, but it happened to be puppetry. This is completely unacceptable to scorpions. And now the distraught scorpion has not noticed that Sasuke has already set his sights on him. Golem. One less. Then it's natural to add one more. And now the only remaining puppet here is the body of the scorpion. Sasuke narrowed his eyes, raised his hand, and a chakra silk thread was instantly connected to the scorpion. However, at this moment, Scorpio froze for a moment. A new chakra appeared, trying to wrestle him for control of this body. Scorpion looked up at Sasuke. The chakra burst directly undoes Sasuke's chakra thread. You want to control me? Puppet. You transformed yourself into a puppet, why can't I control it? Wen Yenxia's face suddenly became more gloomy. Just relying on your puppet technique, you want to snatch the control of my puppet, do you think it will be as simple as before? Scorpion said, as if preparing to attack. However, Sasuke glanced at the system display. Red secret technique, puppet technique, small success. In just how long it took him to raise his level to Xiaocheng's level, this is inseparable from Scorpion's contribution. I would also like to thank such a puppet master for practicing with me, otherwise Sasuke would not have been able to raise the puppet art to such a level in such a short time. Now Sasuke has some new ideas about the puppet of the scorpion. The difference between humanoid puppets and ordinary puppets is that the puppets made by people can retain the history of the past. For example, the previous third cage puppet can even cast magnet-style, sand iron. And the puppet made by the scorpion with its own body can also use the ability in front of the scorpion. The principle is probably to use a part of the body to blend into the puppet. In this case, Sasuke can also snatch the body of the scorpion, so that he can turn the scorpion into his own puppet. But the problem is, the scorpion has an independent will, so it cannot directly control the puppet of the scorpion. Slowly draw the Kusanagi sword behind him. Sasuke's gaze towards Scorpion has become very indifferent at this moment. However, Scorpion also seemed to understand what Sasuke wanted to do, frowning if it wasn't because his body had been made into a puppet by himself. So now he should be pale. Scorpion knew what Sasuke was thinking, but now there was no way to stop it. Can only look at Sasuke. Is there really such a terrifying talent in this world? It's just a battle. The puppet technique I'm proud of was learned by him, and he even managed to surpass me. Maybe it can't be said to surpass, but Shie is willing to admit defeat. Even if Sasuke's puppetry is for other reasons, it is better than his own puppetry. Then this is not an excuse or reason. If you lose, you lose. Zzz. The lightning style on Sasuke made a sound again, and Scorpion looked up at Sasuke. With Sasuke's previous terrifying speed, he can't dodge. The only way now is to see if he can play dead and escape. However, the next second, Sasuke turned into lightning and rushed directly towards him. Scorpion thought that Sasuke would break up his body in an instant, but Sasuke's knife pierced straight into his heart. For a moment Scorpio stared at Sasuke with wide eyes. How did he know? Ignoring Scorpion's astonishment, Sasuke slowly pulled out the Kusanagi sword, and then looked at the dead Ko. He raised his hand but began to treat the heart of the scorpion. Is this the end of a puppet master battle? Kimimaro looked at Sasuke, who was on the ground, not understanding what Sasuke was doing. But soon, he saw an even more terrifying scene. Scorpion got up again. Looking at the scorpion standing up again. Deidara frowned. Senior, are you okay? But the scorpion at this moment did not answer his words. Just standing silently in front of Sasuke, and there is this Sasuke's chakra thread on his body. This is obviously controlled by Sasuke. But what Kimimaro couldn't understand was that Sasuke squatted on the ground just now, as if he had done something. Only Sasuke knows exactly what he did. Sasuke looked at the repaired heart. Although the heart was repaired, it didn't beat. Only when the chakra thread controls the puppet will the scorpion's heart beat again. Because of the chakra infused into it. Now the will of the scorpion is gone, leaving only a body that can be controlled by Sasuke at will. Feeling the ability possessed by the scorpion, puppet, the corners of Sasuke's mouth raised slightly. Sure enough, as Sasuke thought, keeping the heart of the scorpion is equivalent to making a humanoid puppet. The most important thing about humanoid puppets is that they can use the abilities in front of them. Of course, Scorpion's ability in life was not what Sasuke valued. What Sasuke values is whether the humanoid puppet of Scorpion can be established, because once the idea is feasible, then it also means that Sasuke can make good use of another thing. This thing has been carried by Sasuke for a long time, and he has never found a suitable opportunity to use it. This thing is Sharingan by Uchiha Shisui. If this eye is transplanted to Sasuke himself, there is absolutely no need for that. But it would be a pity if it was left in vain, And at the moment when he mastered the scorpion puppet technique, Sasuke thought of this method. Uchiha Shisui's eyes can be exploited using puppetry. Now Sasuke only has one Shisui's eye in his hand, but even one Sharingan is enough. Sasuke raised his hand and threw out a scroll, which landed directly on Scorpion's body. The next second, the scorpion suddenly disappeared and was directly put into the scroll. Sasuke grabbed the scroll in his hand and threw it directly into the Bracer King. He turned to look in Deidara's direction. At this moment Deidara was standing on the back of the big white bird. Watching Sasuke look to this side, he suddenly felt the hairs all over his body stand up instantly. Horrible. This guy is a monster. The senior was actually easily killed by the opponent. And that's not a big deal, the most critical issue is, this guy has even mastered the puppet art of the scorpion. This is simply a monster. %GS at the Sharingan of the Uchiha clan can copy ninjutsu, and everyone knows that. But I have never heard that even secret arts can be copied. Now Deidara is full of fear and can't understand how Sasuke did it. And the scorpion is dead, facing two people by himself, he will definitely not be able to fight, now the only option is to run away. Thinking of this, Deidara prepares to flee. But the next second a familiar voice sounded, and Deidara suddenly looked to the sides. Puppet. 9 puppets flew directly from a distance, slashing at him with sickles in their hands. Deidara dodged the attack with ease. But in the next second, a thunderbolt condensed into 1,000 copies instantly pierced through the big white bird under his feet. Deidara, who fell from the sky, quickly got up. But the next second came Kimimara's voice. Do you still want to escape? You can't escape now. Hearing this, Deidara slid off in cold sweat, looked up at Sasuke who was approaching, and controlled the puppet to fall from the sky. Surrounding him seemed to prevent him from escaping. Deidara looks at Sasuke, damn. Kill if you want. Don't try to humiliate me. Hearing this, Sasuke shook his head, no. I never thought of humiliating my enemies. Or that there is no one worth Sasuke deliberately humiliating or something. Only Sasuke looked at Deidara. I've been thinking about a question. Is your technique considered a secret technique or a blood succession limit? Hearing such a sentence suddenly, Deidara didn't quite understand what Sasuke wanted to do. Shueiji Gigi is a combination of various chakra nature transformations, usually completed directly in the body, directly forming a brand new chakra. And your technique seems to be unable to be used directly, you must use a substance. As he said that, Sasuke picked up the spider that was made of detonating clay that was restricted by lightning style and could not explode. Look at the spider in your hand. This thing should be a change of earth style. Hearing this, Deidara frowned. What exactly are you trying to say? My technique, whether it is a blood succession limit or a secret technique, does it matter? Sasuke nodded, of course it matters. Then he carefully looked at the detonating clay in his hand. Earth attribute nature transformation plus thunder attribute nature transformation. This is the explosion style. And if it's true explosion style, then your chakra itself is fraught with danger. It can explode on direct touch. Why is it necessary to use this method to exert the power of the blood succession limit? Isn't gymnastics the direction you should go? Hearing this, Deidara's complexion changed several times. But Sasuke suddenly smiled. I have a guess. Perhaps it can be explained, said Sasuke. Dropped the clay spider in his hand, then looked at Deidara. You do have the blood succession limit of explosion style, but it may not be complete, or you can't master it perfectly. The moment this sentence was finished, Deidara's eyes changed. Looking at Sasuke in great surprise. From the looks of it, Sasuke guessed right. But you changed another method to use your blood inheritance limit. Reality created this special clay using earth style, then mixed into lightning style chakra. Manufacturing it into special clay with the power of explosion style, and then changing it into various shapes and manipulating it, you can achieve long distance blasting. After talking about, Deidara felt as if his body had no strength, and his secret was discovered. How did you know? Of course it was a guess, but Sasuke smiled and replied, you don't need to know that. Looks like I was right. That's why the clay bomb you made can't explode when facing lightning style, because when you mix lightning style chakra into it, if it explodes, your hands will be useless. If you look at it this way, your explosion style is very special. It doesn't exactly belong to the blood succession limit, but it's more like a secret technique. Deidara didn't want to hear any more now. So what? What do you want to do? Do what? If it's the secret technique and not the limit of blood succession, then Sasuke has the confidence to master it. Listening to what Sasuke said so much, it can be said that the secret of the alchemy seems to have been fully explained. But Kimimaro was a little confused. Master Sasuke said so much, what is he trying to do? Sasuke walked towards Deidara and motioned for Kimimaro to back off. Deidara looked at Sasuke who was approaching, and at the same time looked at the bomb planted in his sight. Looking at Sasuke's position, 2 more steps, it's almost to my bomb location. Thinking about waiting until Sasuke stepped on his mine and was hit by a sudden explosion. And he can take advantage of this opportunity to detonate all the bombs around. Then the time to escape can be created. Thinking of this, Deidara is already secretly making birds with explosive clay. It's so convenient to wait for the first time to escape. But in the next second, lightning suddenly appeared beside Sasuke. The black thunder spread to the ground in an instant, and then spread rapidly in all directions. A huge power grid actually locked all the bombs buried in the ground around him. The thunder and lightning turned into 1,000 roots, directly piercing the ground and hitting his detonating clay. So that all these bombs cannot be detonated, Deidara, who was about to raise his hands to detonate the bomb, froze. Seeing Sasuke casually abort all his bombs with lightning style, Deidara's face was very gloomy. How did this guy find out he had a bomb buried in the ground? Deidara without bombs is like a tiger without teeth. Deidara quickly started to remake the bomb, but what Sasuke wanted was Deidara's action. Mangekyo Sharingan watched Deidara's chakra flow carefully. Deidara's modified hands have mouths, which can make detonating clay more quickly. However, the faster he made it, the clearer Sasuke could see. Sasuke probably understood the process of injecting the explosive clay into the lightning-style chakra to form the explosion-style chakra. Clay doppelganger. This time, Deidara made a clone, watching the detonating clay transformed into Deidara, rushing towards Sasuke one after another. It seems that the purpose of these clones is not to kill Sasuke, but to confuse the public. All Deidara's mind is running away now. He already knows that he may not be able to defeat Sasuke. In the one-on-one situation, he still has ideas, but there is a Kimimaro next to the one-on-two. Deidara doesn't think she's so lucky. Swish swish swish. Several thunderbolts burst out from Sasuke's body in succession, and the black thunder directly fixed these detonating clay clones in an instant. It also prevents them from exploding. Sasuke looked at Deidara, who looked more and more nervous and anxious. The only question now is how to make the detonating clay. Sasuke glanced at Deidara's pocket of explosive clay under his shirt. The corners of the mouth rose slightly. In the next second, Sasuke's lightning style instantly activated, and the black thunder flashed. The roar suddenly sounded. The moment Deidara heard the voice, he reacted suddenly, but it was too late by this time. Sasuke came behind him and snatched the bag on his right. Then jump away and not attack Deidara. And Deidara glanced at Sasuke suspiciously. What are you doing? Sasuke ignored him and grabbed a handful of clay from it. Feel the earth-style chakra in clay. I see. Now it is more clear how detonating clay is made. Looking at Deidara in front of him, Sasuke smiled. Is this your explosion style? Hearing this, Deidara frowned. Do you think you have learned the puppet technique of Senior Scorpion, so you want to try to master my explosion style as well? Idiot. This is the ability of blood succession boundary. If you want to master it, it is simply impossible. Impossible. If it is the real explosion style, then it is indeed not so easy to master. Blood succession boundary requires the fusion of 2 kinds of chakra at the same time. Turn it into a new kind of chakra. In essence, it is completely 2 concepts with ninjutsu. One is just a technique, while the other is a change in energy. So it's not something that can be copied by Sharingan. But priming clay is different. Although it can be regarded as using the power of explosion style, it is only done by tricks. Since Deidara can play tricks, so can Sasuke. Just make this clay of yours and mix it in lightning-style chakra soon. Sasuke smiled. However, Deidara pouted, thinking that it was as simple as what he said, but making clay alone was not so easy. First of all, if the earth-style nature transformation is not passed, it is impossible to complete, and secondly, if the mixing ratio of chakra is not well grasped, it is impossible to succeed. Just when Deidara was about to open his mouth to mock Sasuke for his whimsical idea, suddenly Sasuke raised his hand to form a seal, although it was just a simple seal of a sun, but in the next second Sasuke suddenly opened his mouth. Just spit out a ball of white clay. Seeing this scene, Deidara was completely stunned. How is it possible? Even his detonating clay needs to be mixed with clay and earth-style chakra. And how could Sasuke directly use earth-style nature transformation to directly create the detonation point? Is this guy's grasp of earth-style nature transformation stronger than his own? Now Sasuke's earth-style nature transformation has reached the 3rd level. It is not difficult to directly use earth-style to gather soil in the mouth, and this is also the use of earth-style, soil flow wall. For Sasuke's talents, it is easy to intercept a part of the mud flow wall. Looking at the explosive clay in his hand, Sasuke smiled at Deidara. Then lightning style exploded instantly. Black lightning style was mixed into it. There is no need to chew directly. With the top nature transformation of Sasuke lightning style, even this can easily imitate the process of mixing demi-grown into chakra. Raise your hands to print. The detonating clay in his hand quickly transformed into Sasuke's appearance. This part should be mixed with transformation technique. The detonating clay itself can actually be regarded as a group of chakra, so as long as it is your own chakra, it is not difficult to let it use clone technique or transformation technique. Now Sasuke feels that he has not only successfully mastered the detonating clay, but also seems to have seen the essence of ninjutsu. Congratulations to the host, the secret technique of success, detonating clay craftsman. Detonating clay, beginner. Looking at the explosive clay clone made by Sasuke, Deidara froze in place. Staring blankly at Sasuke, he seemed a little confused. Why? Why did Sasuke learn his technique so easily? You have to know that in order to bring out the power of explosion style in this way, he spent an untold amount of painstaking effort to be able to succeed. But now Uchiha Sasuke just took a few glances and imitated it so simply. Swish swish. Suddenly 2 clones of Sasuke jumped over. But at this moment, Deidara's reaction was a bit slow, and he didn't escape immediately. Boom. The 2 clones suddenly exploded. The power of the explosion caused Deidara, who jumped back to dodge, to be affected as well. The whole person even rolled directly on the ground. The power of the explosion far exceeds that of Deidara's detonating clay clone. Deidara rolled a few times on the ground, stood up quickly with dust from the explosion on his face. A face turned into a big picture, but at the moment there is no time to care about it so much. Staring at the huge crater formed by the explosion in front of him. This power. How could it be so strong? Deidara looked up at Sasuke. He doesn't understand why Sasuke's detonating clay is more powerful than his. What's the matter? And Sasuke was also a little surprised, but soon understood the key. My own earth-style nature transformation is level 3, this level of nature transformation, it can be said that even the 2-day scale Onoki may not reach it. They may have mastered the nature transformation of earth-style, but they have further improved the nature transformation. It can be said that cage-level ninjas may have 2 levels of nature transformation in their best evasion technique. But the 3rd level is completely untouched by them. In other words, even cage-level ninjas don't have the concept of enhancing the power of nature transformation. So I don't know it all, let alone want to practice further. And Sasuke knows that nature transformation can continue to improve because of the system. So it will be upgraded. Meanwhile, Lightning Style's nature transformation received a top 5. The Lightning Style chakra integrated into the detonating clay. In order to control the proportion, Sasuke only used the power of the 3rd level Lightning Style nature transformation. Compared to Deidara, the 2 nature transformations are probably only at the 1st level. So the power gap between the 2 naturally came. Even with the same amount of chakra and the same technique, the power of Sasuke's detonating clay is more than 10 times that of Deidara, or even stronger. Why? Why is your technique able to produce an explosion of this magnitude? No. Impossible. Detonating clay is my masterpiece. Even if you master it, it is absolutely impossible to surpass me. Deidara seems to be in a state of madness now. There were even bloodshot eyes. Grabbing a handful of explosive clay with both hands, Deidara stared at Sasuke. No, absolutely not, only I can display the true power of my masterpiece. Saying that, Deidara started to recreate the clay bomb. Birds were thrown from Deidara's hands one by one. Watch the birds galloping by. Sasuke raised his hand to make another mudra, spit out a series of raindrops of clay, and shot towards Deidara's direction. However, the clay spit into the air has not yet been integrated into the lightning style chakra. Deidara doesn't understand what Sasuke is doing. Just use clay to block his attack. But then the thunder that burst out of thin air swept straight up in an instant, hitting the shot clay. The lightning style chakra fusion is done directly in the air. At the same time, Sasuke's knot seal is also completed. It's just a little transformation technique. Clay bombs of different sizes and shapes have different proportions of chakra. Although this requires a lot of experiments to be able to debug the ratio. But for me, I just need to do a little calculation in my heart, and I can complete or even omit this process directly. As Sasuke said, the clay in the air immediately began to deform. It directly transforms into a shuriken form. Looking at Sasuke's changing shapes with clay, it was completely different from what Deidara had in mind. Deidara likes to turn it into an animal so that the bomb can have a tracking effect. However, Sasuke does not seem to intend to use this idea. Instead, it is directly changed into a harder shape, so that the speed will become faster. Boom boom boom. Clay, shuriken and clay, birds. Colliding with each other, a series of explosions are produced instantly. The shock wave formed by the explosion quickly swept towards the surroundings. Deidara looked at the explosion that he was completely suppressed in the air, his eyes moved slightly. This guy's detonating clay power is really much stronger than mine. Why is that? Swish. Suddenly a white kunapo exploded into smoke and shot straight towards him. Deidara backed away quickly. Kunai instantly hit the rock behind him, but what surprised Deidara even more was that this instant kunai was like a heavy hammer, instantly piercing through the rock. Looking at the shattered stones, Deidara's eyes locked on the clay. Next second. Boom. The explosion appeared directly, and the terrifying power instantly engulfed everything within 2 meters around. The air seemed to flow backwards, and then burst out suddenly. Deidara was directly blown away by the shock wave of the explosion. Landing. Deidara didn't have time to roll over. In the next second, big white snakes suddenly appeared around him, wrapping around his body directly. The swift white snake entangled Deidara tightly, and the terrifying entanglement made Deidara feel extremely desperate. This white boa constrictor is also made of detonating clay, so there is no doubt that it can also explode, and its power may be even more amazing. Sasuke's footsteps sounded. Deidara looked into the smoke, Sasuke walking slowly through the smoke. Look at him. The skill of detonating clay is very good, but it seems that it doesn't really exert its power in your hands. Hearing that, Deidara's eyes narrowed slightly. The art that he was proud of was actually buried by him. Sasuke is right, this guy's kick king is amazing. At the same time, the way of making the detonating clay is even more amazing. It is done directly and instantly, and it still needs a tedious process. It seems that this technique is indeed buried in his own hands. But Deidara looked at Sasuke, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. Perhaps. You are indeed the one who can make my detonating clay unleash its real power, but I won't just admit defeat like this. Let you see my last ultimate art. Although entangled by the white snake, Deidara had already prepared for the worst. He threw a lump of clay into the mouth of his chest long before he started fighting with Sasuke, ready to explode at any moment. Next, I will show you what is the ultimate art. Deidara laughed and activated chakra in her body, ready to explode. Art. It's Patrick. However, Sasuke looked at Deidara's appearance and laughed. If you want to blow yourself up, why not? Give me your body, maybe I can let you use another way to make your art remembered by the entire ninja world. The black rod shot from Sasuke's hand in the next second directly penetrated Deidara's chest. At the same time, the lightning also erupted from Sasuke's other hand, and shot directly towards Udala. Lightning style plus the dual power of the black stick. Deidara's self-destruction was directly suspended. Feeling that the chakra in the body quickly returned to calm, and it was completely out of control and completely unable to mobilize. Deidara stared at Sasuke with wide eyes. Lightning style wasn't enough to completely stop his self-destruct, but this strange hidden weapon suppressed his chakra. What is this? Looking at Sasuke, blood slowly dripped from the corner of Deidara's mouth. Consciousness gradually blurred. Deidara didn't understand what Sasuke meant by letting the whole ninja world remember his art in another way. Swish. The blade sliced across his throat and sealed it. Blood spilled wildly. Sasuke slowly retracted the Kusanagi sword, and the detonating white snake also slowly disappeared. Plop. Deidara fell to the ground, no longer breathing. Sasuke looked at Deidara on the ground. Just use your body to test it. Kimimaro, who came over, was a little curious when he heard Sasuke's words. What experiment does Sasuke-sama want to use Deidara's body for? And Master Sasuke just mastered this guy's technique with ease. Why? How exactly is this done? Scorpion before, Tionla now. Both of Sasuke's skills are easy to learn, and both of them seem to be better at using them. Is this the talent of Sasuke-sama? Whether it is the blood succession limit or the secret technique, it can be easily mastered. If this is the case, then wouldn't Master Sasuke be able to master the blood succession limit if he wanted to learn the blood succession limit? Master Sasuke, do you want to take this guy's body away? Kimimaro asked. Sasuke nodded. Yeah. Use the scroll to take it away. I'll try to make him a puppet later. Puppet? Kimimaro nodded. Kimimaro was also very curious about the puppet technique that Sasuke had just mastered. What would it look like if Deidara was made into a puppet? Is there any difference in making people into puppets? Kimimaro asked curiously. Of course it's different. Sasuke smiled. If it's a normal puppet technique, it's just manipulating the puppet. Plus the mechanism on the puppet is hard to defend, but the humanoid puppet is different. If it is successfully produced, it can retain the ability of the other party. When it comes to this, Kimimaro fully understands. Then it's no wonder Master Sasuke wants to make the opponent into a puppet. And Master Sasuke has already learned Deidara's ability. Why did he deliberately make Deidara into a puppet? Although Kimimaro was a little curious about this question, he didn't continue to ask. Hastily sealed Deidara's body and prepared to take it away. The reason why Sasuke wanted to make Deidara's puppet, of course, was not for Deidara's ability. It's for experimentation, and if it works, then the next step is for Sasuke to make Uchiha Shisui's puppet. Shisui's Sharingan also comes into play. Sasuke clicked on the system and looked at the two techniques he had just mastered. There is also a new column on the system panel. Secret technique. Red secret technique, puppet technique, small success, detonating clay, proficient. Looking at the two newly mastered techniques, Sasuke nodded in satisfaction. The level of puppet art is relatively good, thanks to Shie, the master of puppet art, accompanying him to practice. And if the level of detonating clay wants to be improved, it seems that the only way to further increase the level is to continuously make detonating clay. I have completed the task of the system, so that means you will get an opportunity to develop an S-rank ninjutsu. There was a gleam in Sasuke's eyes. At the same time, the system prompt also appeared. Congratulations to host, successfully mastered puppet art and detonating clay. Acquired. One opportunity to develop S-level ninjutsu in Ninjutsu Lab. Whether to use now an opportunity to develop ninjutsu is still an opportunity to develop S-level ninjutsu. Now Sasuke has to think carefully about what new ninjutsu to develop. It would be too wasteful to use such a precious opportunity to develop the ordinary 5 elements escape technique. Sasuke looked at the system panel, his own yin and yang escaped above. Using yin dun or yang dun, or directly using yin yang dun to develop ninjutsu, is the real horror. While Sasuke was thinking, suddenly Kimimaro stood up, his expression became a little dignified. Looking behind Sasuke, the bone blade appeared instantly when he raised his hand. In the next second, white zetsu slowly drilled out. Exposing most of his body, he clapped his hands. What a terrifying talent. I never thought that Mr. Sasuke could solve these two guys so easily, and he also learned their skills by the way. As expected of the scariest monster in the ninja world. Hearing White Zetsu's voice, Sasuke was slightly taken aback. No wonder Sasuke felt strange sights from the very beginning. But I can't feel where it's coming from. Look back at White Zetsu. Sasuke looked at him. So, Obito is trying to kill me? Listening to Sasuke's question, White Zetsu felt a little strange, as if Sasuke knew something. But he didn't answer Sasuke's question. Just raised his hand and threw a letter to Sasuke. Someone asked me to give it to you. Mr. Sasuke, I don't know if you are still a member of the Akatsuki organization. Sasuke accepted the letter with a smile and asked back, what do you think? White Zetsu nodded and understood. As he spoke, he slowly dived back into the ground. Kimimaro frowned. Master Sasuke, did we just let him go? He was here just now, so didn't he see you? Hearing this, Sasuke waved his hand. Don't worry, since it has seen it, its body has already known it. It doesn't matter whether you kill it or not. Said Sasuke opened the envelope in his hand, opened it and took a look at the contents inside. And the first sentence made Sasuke's expression freeze. At the same time, the system beeps. Staggered Wheel of Fortune. Accept Uchiha Itachi's invitation. Figure out the change of Itachi, and defeat Uchiha Itachi. Complete the third destiny event. Indra Chakra will be fully awakened, awakenable Rinnegan. Looking at the system interface in front of him, Sasuke was stunned. Unexpectedly, the last fateful event 3 turned out to be a battle with Uchiha Itachi. At first, Sasuke thought that after fighting Itachi, he would no longer fight. However, I didn't expect that I still couldn't escape. Is this Subian? Sasuke shook his head helplessly. The content of Itachi's letter to Sasuke is very simple, that is, 2 points. The first point is that he is ready. At the same time, I hope that Sasuke can reign in the precipice and leave the Akatsuki organization. At the same time, it is best not to continue to catch the tail beast. In a word, the Akatsuki organization is not something that Sasuke can control. However, Sasuke smiled lightly at this. I'm afraid you are the one who doesn't know what the Akatsuki organization wants to do, Itachi. The second point of the letter is to invite Sasuke to a certain place to meet again, and hope that help will go no matter what. Between the lines indicated that he wanted to make an end to Sasuke. After reading it, Sasuke raised his hand and the lightning flowed, immediately igniting the paper. Master Sasuke. Kimimaro was a little worried seeing Sasuke's face was not quite right, and suddenly he was a little curious about the content of this letter. It's all right. Let's go. Seeing that Sasuke didn't want to say anything, Kimimaro couldn't continue asking. Shall we go to Kirigakure next? Hearing this, Sasuke shook his head and looked in a certain direction. Go meet someone. Meet someone. Who? My big brother. Sasuke-sama's big brother. Kimimaro glanced at Sasuke in surprise, but then quickly thought of Uchiha Itachi. Yes, Master Sasuke also has a big brother, and this big brother is also a member of the Akatsuki organization, codenamed Vermilion Bird. Kimimaro was a little worried whether there would be any problems when the two met this time. But thinking about the last time Uchiha Itachi came to see Sasuke, it was not very serious. Kimimaro also heaved a sigh of relief, but there was always a bad feeling about it. The two rushed towards the place agreed upon by Uchiha Itachi. The distance is not too far, and Sasuke arrived at the location of Uchiha Itachi in just half a day. Here is a huge house that looks reasonably good. The door was pushed halfway open, leaving the other half open, and it was pitch black from the outside. Sasuke looked at the door of the house, which seemed to be where the original commander and Itachi fought. It seems that fate cannot escape after all, but what Sasuke doesn't understand is why Itachi still wants to meet him this time. The last meeting should have made Itachi understand that it is impossible to defeat him with his strength. Wait for me outside, no matter what happens, don't interfere. After Sasuke gave his orders, he was ready to go in. However, at this moment Kimimaro looked up at Sasuke. Master Sasuke, be careful. Don't worry, I am now, no one in the ninja world can kill me. After speaking, Sasuke turned around and pushed the other door open with one hand, and then directly entered it. The room was pitch black and nothing could be seen. And Sasuke didn't need to look, because Itachi was sitting in the center, and his expression was very gloomy at the moment. Looking at Sasuke who came in, Itachi raised his head and raised his eyelids weakly. Then glanced at Sasuke. Here you come, Sasuke. Listen to Itachi's hoarse voice. Sasuke was stunned for a moment. It seems that the current Itachi is in a bad physical condition. It shouldn't be. Itachi's body can't be so bad at this time point. At the same time, his Mangekyo Sharingan should not have been used to the point of going blind. How could it become like this? Just when Sasuke was about to ask Itachi, he stood up straight away, looking at Sasuke. Sasuke, are you now? Are you planning to leave the Akatsuki organization? Hear the question. Sasuke sighed helplessly. That's right. To be precise, I have left the Akatsuki organization. I didn't take 8 tails and are away with me. The leader already understands it very well. I also took Deidara and Scorpion to deal with me. Itachi smiled. Those 2 guys shouldn't trouble you. Solved. By the way, I also learned their skills. When Itachi's expression froze for a moment. Looking at Sasuke very surprised, Itachi also knows that Sharingan can copy ninjutsu, but what Sasuke copied is secret art and blood succession limit. Can such a thing really be done? Impossible. How did this kid do it? But thinking of Sasuke's terrifying talent, what may be impossible for ordinary people may be possible for Sasuke. Thinking of this, Itachi smiled in relief. It is his pride to have such an outstanding younger brother anyway. Sasuke. Your talent is outstanding, perhaps even comparable to the legendary Uchiha Madara. Even. Big brother believes in you and is better than him. Hearing Itachi claim to be big brother, Sasuke felt that Itachi didn't seem to want to fight with himself today. Go back to Konoha. Sasuke. If you are willing to return to Konoha, I can tell you a more important secret about the Uchiha clan, which will allow you to evolve your Sharingan to a stronger level. Hearing this, Sasuke probably understood. Itachi wants to use power to lure his own back to Konoha. But Sasuke already knew Itachi's so-called secret, or a stronger way to make Sharingan evolve. You must be referring to the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Hearing that, the smile on Itachi's face disappeared. He stared blankly at Sasuke. How could you? Maybe the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan is a way to evolve, but it's not the only one. Sasuke said. Raising his hand, Sasuke opened his eyelids, revealing his complete Sharingan. My Sharingan, even if you don't need to use this method, you can definitely evolve to a higher level. Itachi couldn't help but smile at Sasuke's words. Although Sasuke's talent is very strong, but this is the only way to open eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Itachi shook his head. No, Sasuke, even you can't do it. Only that way can make Sharingan continue to evolve. I don't need anyone's eyes, especially yours, Itachi. Hearing this, Itachi was stunned for a moment. He seemed to know why Sasuke was so persistent in a trance. It turned out that he didn't want to sacrifice himself for him. That's why I left Konoha, and that's why I joined the Akatsuki organization, that's why I challenged the movie. Sasuke just wants to break through with his own efforts, and doesn't want to be bound by the Sharingan's curse. Itachi was moved for a moment, but a curse is a curse, there is no other way. Sasuke, I understand your heart. Intention. What intention? Sasuke froze for a moment, did he express anything? But there is only one way to evolve. If you don't do this, you will lose the bright sword in the end. Lost the light? Sasuke smiled, and if he told Itachi that he had the Sharingan cultivation method, he could continuously enhance his pupil power. Then break through the Sharingan level. This guy probably won't believe it. I won't. Seeing Sasuke's stubbornness, Itachi felt helpless and happy at the same time. Helpless is because Sasuke doesn't listen to persuasion. I am happy because such Sasuke at least shows that he cares about himself. Thinking of this, Itachi often sighed, but the persuasion was ineffective in the end, and the only way to make Sasuke obedient was to use the method he used when he was a child. Sasuke. You are a ninja now, whether you think you are a ninja from Konoha or not, the ninja solution must be used among ninjas. Do you still want to fight with me? You know your Mangekyo Sharingan can't do anything to me. Itachi nodded, that's right, my Mangekyo Sharingan is indeed not as good as yours, your talent is the strongest I have ever seen, yes, even. The former Uchiha Shisui is far inferior to you. Knowing that this will continue, it seems Itachi is prepared. But this time it's different. Sasuke, have you seen my new eyes? New eyes? Sasuke suddenly raised his head and opened his eyes to stare at Itachi. In the next second, Itachi's three-hook jade opened and rotated rapidly, forming a new pattern. Small black dots appeared on the original windmill. This is. If Sasuke remembers correctly, this should be the Mangekyo Sharingan of their father, Uchiha Fugaku. In the original book, the Uchiha clan died, and Fugaku, who was the patriarch of the Uchiha clan, went to where did his eyes go? The eyes of all the Uchiha clan were gouged out. Then Fugaku's eyes are naturally impossible to fall. Originally, Sasuke thought it was in Danzo's hands, but Fugaku's eyes were Mangekyo. Could it be that the ability is too weak and Danzo didn't use it? But now Sasuke understands. It didn't fall into Danzo's hands at all, but into Itachi's. In this regard, Danzo can only helplessly. Because of Fugaku's eyes, Itachi has no choice but to take the group away. And now Itachi has opened Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Still using the eyes of their father, Uchiha Fugaku. No wonder Sasuke has always felt that Itachi deliberately avoided his eyes because he was afraid of seeing familiar eyes. Looking at the Itachi now. After opening the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, Sasuke could clearly feel that Itachi's pupil power had increased many times. And the pupil power is so strong that it even far surpasses him. Is this the Weasel God? After opening Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, it has changed so much. It's just unbelievable. This change surprised even Sasuke. Did Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan make such a big difference? How is it? Sasuke, it feels different now. These are my father's eyes. He told me at first, hoping to watch you grow up. I didn't understand it at the time, but now I understand that what my father means is that he wants you to use his eyes. Protect you with his eyes, help you grow with his eyes. Said Itachi looked a little sad. Yes, but I still don't need it. Unexpectedly, Sasuke still persisted. Itachi raised his head and stared at Sasuke. The strong sense of oppression formed by the burst of pupil power. If it were an ordinary ninja, he could no longer hold on. However, Sasuke instantly activated his Mangekyo Sharingan. The burst of pupil power impact raged towards Itachi, and the meeting of the eyes of the two actually made the surrounding space faintly start to vibrate. The shock wave that followed erupted swept all around. Although the power is not too great, it just cracks the ground. At this time, Kimimaro outside the house felt a vibration in the air. Kimimaro frowned. Has it started yet? Itachi was a little surprised by the movement caused by the collision of pupil power, and did not expect such a situation to happen. But at the same time, it also proves one thing, even if Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, even though his pupil power surpassed Sasuke, he would never try to suppress Sasuke. And Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan is not Eternal Mangekyo, but it can fight against his own Eternal Mangekyo. It's amazing. As expected of the most outstanding member of the Uchiha clan, Sasuke, your talent is astonishing. But even so, Itachi still wants to make Sasuke listen to him, return to Konoha and help him open the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Because in this way, we can better protect Konoha. However, Itachi wanted to say something this time, but Sasuke interrupted him directly. Let's start. Itachi, Let's start with the kunai throwing technique this time. I have been practicing this very hard these years, and now you are probably no longer my opponent in this regard. I don't know why, there seems to be a voice in Sasuke's heart, asking him to discuss kunai throwing with Itachi. Maybe this is Hara Sasuke's voice, it doesn't matter to Sasuke either. I didn't expect Sasuke to make such a request, so the chef smiled. Then come and try. See how much you have improved over the years. Sasuke raised his hand and took out shuriken and kunai directly from the gauntlet. Seeing Sasuke's actions, Itachi smiled. Did you deliberately use the storage scroll to darken it? It seems that Sasuke is very confident in his kunai throwing technique. Both have turned on the Mangekyo Sharingan, which is amazingly insightful. Such two people performing the kunaido throwing technique itself is not comparable to ordinary ninjas. Both get ready at the same time. Sasuke glanced at Itachi, knowing that Itachi wanted to let himself do it first. Then Sasuke is not welcome. Raising your hand, the moment the first shuriken came out of your hand. Itachi was stunned for a moment, because even if the shuriken hadn't flown far, with his insight, he could judge the movement trajectory of the shuriken immediately at. So he can easily see that this shuriken will draw a huge semicircle in the air and then stab straight between his eyebrows. Didn't expect Sasuke to have reached this level. However, as the second shuriken flew out of Itachi, he realized that he seemed to have underestimated Sasuke. The second shuriken will collide with the first shuriken without accident, causing the trajectory of the shuriken to change for the second time. At the same time, because of the radian problem, it will stab his leg bend, and at the same time the other one will stab his abdomen. This is Sasuke's kunai throwing technique? In the hands of Sasuke, the small hidden weapon seems to be too small to be underestimated. As expected of my younger brother, Sasuke. You have become a strong man who looks down on the entire loyal ghost. Although Sasuke's kunai throwing technique, Itachi had already understood it just at the beginning. This is totally getting ahead of yourself. Far more powerful than his own kunai throwing technique. With the powerful insight ability brought by Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, Itachi can clearly capture the movement trajectory of each kunai. Being able to see means being able to stop it. In an instant, Itachi also started directly. Ding ding dang dang. The continuous sound resounded. And then Sasuke and Itachi turned their hands into countless afterimages, throwing kunai and shuriken at each other. Almost in the blink of an eye, countless shurikens and fallen kunai were everywhere. Countless black shadows collided with each other in the air, bursting out a series of sparks. But at this time, Sasuke and Itachi didn't care about these at all, they were staring at each other. Until Sasuke didn't know how many shurikens and kunai he had thrown. There may already be a previous one. Finally, Sasuke's insight is still stronger than Itachi's. Captured a flashing scene. My kunai will hit the shuriken thrown by Itachi, although the shuriken after changing the trajectory. It won't cause any damage to Itachi or Sasuke himself, but as long as Sasuke adds a little impact, he can easily make this shuriken move towards Itachi. Immediately after that, Sasuke immediately made a judgment and threw out the shuriken directly. Ding. Ding. The two collisions in the air caused the shuriken that was just thrown back to be knocked back again. Itachi also noticed this key shuriken at this moment. However, maintaining the ultra-high-speed throw, he seemed unable to block this shuriken. Sasuke's movement stopped, and Itachi slightly tilted his head at the same time. Easily dodged the attack of this shuriken, bang. The shuriken pierced straight into the wall, and most of it went directly into the wall. Itachi looked down at Sasuke. The corner of the mouth raised slightly. You won. Sasuke also smiled. I told you earlier, you are no longer my opponent. Hearing Itachi nodded. You are right. Kunai throwing technique. You are probably the strongest existence in the entire ninja world. But the ninja's fighting style is not just kunai. The moment he raised his head, the power of Itachi's pupils exploded, and his hands directly turned into countless afterimages and formed seals instantly. At the same time Sasuke also reacted. Raise your hand to make a seal. But Itachi smiled. It's too late, Sasuke. Although your seal speed is also very fast, the ninja's battle will have a different result even if it's a second away. Don't blame Big Brother for cheating on you. Ninja fights are never fair. Itachi took a deep breath. Fire style, great fireball technique. Boom. The flames that erupted in an instant swept towards Sasuke. Originally, the distance between two people was not too far away, only less than 10 meters away, and the flames roared at this distance almost in the blink of an eye. However, Sasuke broke out fire style almost at the same time. Fire style, great fireball technique. The flames swept through. Itachi froze for a moment. How is it possible why Sasuke was able to release this spell at the same time as himself? No matter how fast the printing speed is, it can't be synchronized with yourself. However, Itachi thought back to Sasuke's knot seal just now. Sasuke didn't quite finish all the prints of fire-style Great Fireball technique. Just made a few simple movements, almost omitting 2/3 of the Indian style. This caused Sasuke to be able to release ninjutsu at the same time as him. Omit the seal? Itachi froze for a moment. You can only say that he is indeed his genius brother. Even the seal of the Great Fireball technique can be omitted, which is not something that can be done with talent. If the understanding of this technique is not deep enough, it is absolutely impossible to do this. It can be seen how terrifying Sasuke's talent in ninjutsu is, and at the same time, he has spent a lot of time on this technique. The flames collided with each other, and an astonishing roar erupted directly. And the next second Itachi was even more surprised that his flame was completely suppressed. Sasuke's fire style is overwhelming and sweeping directly. In the fight of ninjutsu, he is no match at all. Beep. Boom. Boom. The flame hit the wall, and the powerful impact directly caused the entire wall to collapse instantly. At the same time, a large amount of thick smoke was also emitted from the house. Itachi, who was dodging the attack at this moment, looked at the big hole blasted by Sasuke's flames. He looked back at Sasuke. Your practice of fire-style ninjutsu seems to be more than ordinary hard work. Hearing this, Sasuke just smiled. Sasuke, who was about to do it, suddenly felt another shock from chakra in his body. In an instant, Mangekyo Sharingan turned, a powerful mental wave erupted, and Itachi's illusion was instantly deciphered by Sasuke. At the same time Sasuke also launched his own illusion. Itachi was even more surprised by the collision of illusion. Because at that moment he seemed to be under Sasuke's illusion and saw himself being stabbed by kunai. However, in the next second, his pupil power exploded and dispelled Sasuke's illusion. It's just that the image of the injury is still in my mind. Sasuke smiled. He also won, even though Itachi has such a powerful illusion as the pupil technique Tsukuyomi. But in terms of optical illusion alone, Sasuke is superior. But if Itachi activates Tsukuyomi, the effect will naturally be different. And Sasuke looked at Itachi in front of him. He would not give Itachi a chance to activate the pupil technique Tsukuyomi, and directly accelerated rapidly. The figure quickly moved towards Itachi's direction. Itachi wanted to get out of the way, but it was too late. Sasuke got close and directly launched a series of attacks. The fists scattered like raindrops, and even though Itachi saw all of Sasuke's attack routes at this moment, he couldn't judge the best way to dodge for a while. He could only deal with the two punches with all his strength, and at the same time created a gap, thinking about retreating behind. Immediately distanced himself from Sasuke. Gymnastics. Sasuke wins. Itachi stood still and looked at Sasuke in front of him. My heart is full of emotions. Once upon a time, that kid brother who only knew to follow himself. Now it has grown to a level that he can hardly handle. Kunai throwing, ninjutsu, genjutsu, taijutsu. Completely crushed. It was even crushed without any suspense. This made Itachi feel a little uncomfortable. It can only be said that Sasuke's talent is too strong. He had absolutely no power to fight back. You've weakened Itachi. Itachi smiled. It's not that you have become stronger. Sasuke spread his hands. So, is there any need to continue? Of course. Itachi replied affirmatively, because the real contest will start now. A real contest. Of course it refers to the collision between Mangekyo Sharingan. If Itachi had Mangekyo Sharingan before, he was far from Sasuke's opponent. But now with the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, the power of Itachi Hitomi has increased dramatically. It has even completely surpassed Sasuke, and eternal Mangekyo Sharingan is always different from Mangekyo Sharingan. Although Itachi's pupil technique has not changed in any way, the difference is the difference. Because of the changes in the eyes, even if it is just from the pattern, Itachi's current pattern has become more mysterious. It seems to have added some kind of power from his father Uchiha Fugaku. The power of the two Mangekyo of the Uchiha family is superimposed. This is not a question of 1 + 1 = 2. Sasuke. Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, there will be no burden, you can use Sharingan's pupil technique infinitely. Do you know what that means? Itachi looked like this power was very powerful. However, Sasuke shrugged indifferently and said, I won't be blind. It seems that you are really until. Sasuke. You never use your pupil technique, presumably because you know that once you use pupil technique, your eyesight will be permanently reduced. Said Itachi looked at Sasuke's clear and sharp eyes. The number of times your eyes cast the pupil technique is rare, and the side effects have not been reflected, but the more you use this power, the curse will appear. Mangekyo Sharingan is the power to seal the more you use it. Just when Itachi was about to continue teaching, Sasuke cut him off directly. The more you use it, the more it will be sealed? Sasuke laughed. Not talking about himself, just talking about the former Indra. That guy doesn't have any eyes to change. He managed to activate the Rinnegan just by himself. There is no such thing as eternal Mangekyo Sharingan in the middle. In Sasuke's view, the descendants of the Uchiha clan need the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. The fundamental reason is because of the dilution of Uchiha's blood, or the weakening of Sharingan's power. So it is not possible to directly activate Mangekyo like Indra, and then directly activate Rinnegan. In the final analysis, it is nothing more than that the current Uchiha family can't find a way to enhance the power of the blood. Sasuke's voice suddenly became a little low. Here's Sasuke calling his name. Itachi frowned. If I say, even if I use the pupil technique, the burden on my eyes is completely unbelievable, would you believe me? For me, using the pupil technique is equivalent to ninjutsu. After chakra is exhausted, that is, the pupil power is exhausted, the pupil technique cannot be activated. But no burden on my eyes. Hearing Sasuke say these words, Itachi couldn't believe it. It is impossible to have such a thing. Pupil power is pupil power. How could it be confused with chakra? That's not the same kind of thing at all. The reason why your eyes become more and more sealed is like a child trying to lift a rock that an adult can lift. Every time you lift it up, your body will be damaged, and it will be sealed over time. But if your Sharingan is powerful enough, then using pupil technique will not have any side effects at all. Hearing this, Itachi smiled. Sasuke, do you mean that your Sharingan is strong enough? That's right. Sasuke nodded. That's what I mean. He. Sasuke, what you said is simply impossible to happen, because the history of the Uchiha clan has never. But Uchiha's ancestors did it. Ancestors? Itachi froze for a moment. Who is the ancestor of Uchiha? How does Sasuke seem to know something? As for who the ancestor is, Sasuke of the ancestor is hard to say, because Ju exists. If Indra speaks out here, I'm afraid this guy will definitely hear it. So keep it up. But Itachi looked at Sasuke and suddenly kept silent, knowing that Sasuke must be worried about something. However, Itachi suddenly thought of Ju. That guy is an extremely weird existence from the Akatsuki organization. Although his combat effectiveness is not very strong, his ability to hide is indeed amazing. I think Sasuke is afraid that this guy will appear around. If that's the case, then Itachi has a safe and secure place where Sasuke can speak freely. Pupil surgery. Tsukuyomi. In an instant, Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan began to turn slightly. Next second, the pupil power exploded, and Sasuke suddenly found that the world around him had changed. Sasuke felt it the moment the pupil technique broke out, but what surprised Sasuke was the so-called Tsukuyomi is not just as simple as an illusion. Strictly speaking, this technique also belongs to the space-type ability, which can absorb part of the enemy's consciousness, or spirit, into a certain space. Sasuke looked up at Itachi in front of him. Sasuke in the original book is Tsukuyomi who claims to have seen through Itachi, but has he really seen through Tsukuyomi? It can't be regarded as an illusion in a simple sense. If this technique continues to develop, maybe. Sasuke suddenly thought of another technique. From Otsutsuki Kaguya's Tianjiyuzhang, Kaguya has 6 spaces. She can easily dominate everything in these spaces. But isn't this like Itachi's Tsukuyomi at this moment? Sure enough, all abilities are traceable. The Uchiha clan who inherited the power of Kaguya, as expected, can't escape the connection with Kaguya. Sasuke. You just said the ancestor of the Uchiha clan, now you can speak freely. Don't worry about being heard by anyone. This is Tsukuyomi's space, only you and me here. We will spend the next 72 hours here. Hearing this, Sasuke smiled. Is that why you want to hear about Uchiha's ancestors? That's okay. It's okay for Qian Wang to come out. Ancestor of Uchiha. Indra, son of the Sage of 6 Paths. Indra, son of the Sage of 6 Paths. This is the first time Itachi heard of this kind of thing, but this kind of thing must not be fabricated by Sasuke himself. But looking at Sasuke's gaze, it doesn't look like he's joking or lying at all. Indra is the one who has the Rinnegan. Rinnegan. If the ancestor of Uchiha is this man named Indra, then what about Rinnegan? Isn't that the fairy eye that only Sage of 6 Paths has? Sharingan is the eye that Indra inherited from the bloodline of Sage of 6 Paths. The ultimate evolution of Sharingan is not some eternal Mangekyo, but Rinnegan. What? Itachi stared at Sasuke with wide eyes. Rinnegan is the eye of the fairy, and is it rain that evolved from Mangekyo? How can it be? In Itachi's cognition, Bain, Sharingan, Rinnegan, 3 different pupil techniques are combined into 3 pupil techniques. However, Itachi never thought that Sharingan could evolve into Rinnegan. Those are the eyes of the rumored Sage of 6 Paths. I didn't expect to have such a relationship with Sharingan. In that case, doesn't it mean that Sage of 6 Paths is equivalent to the ancestors of the Uchiha clan? Sage of 6 Paths, strictly speaking, can be regarded as the ancestor of the Uchiha clan. Hearing that, Itachi's expression changed again, and the gaze toward Sasuke became even more shocked. However, Sasuke was not finished yet. Looking at Itachi, who was already extremely shocked now, Sasuke didn't know what this guy would look like after hearing the next news. But the Sage of 6 Paths is not only the ancestor of the Uchiha clan, but also the ancestor of the Senju clan, Indra's younger brother Ashura. He and Indra have inherited the celestial body and celestial eye of the Sage of 6 Paths, respectively. Having said that, Itachi thought for a while. In other words, Sharingan is equivalent to the eyes of a fairy, so what about the body of a fairy? Thinking about the characteristics of the Senju family, they encountered a huge amount of chakra by chance, and at the same time possessed incomparably majestic life energy. The fighting power of the Senju clan can be said to be unique in the ninja world. Because of the terrifying amount of chakra and the exuberant vitality, Senju Hashirama pacified the ninja world back then, and the Kaisho clan also had a lot of credit. So the amount of chakra of the Senju clan is different from ordinary people, and the vitality is so tenacious that they will not die even if they are fatally injured. Itachi's analysis. Sasuke nodded in the affirmative. That's right. However, things like bloodlines will gradually become thinner over time, so that now neither the Uchiha clan nor the Senju clan can grasp the power once possessed by Indra or Ashura. Itachi agrees with this statement very much. As time goes by, many things will indeed change. But the problem is that he is a little hard to accept now. Why? If according to what you said, the Uchiha clan should be the descendants of the Sage of 6 Paths like the Senju clan, and they shouldn't be enemies. This starts with the conflict between Indra and Ashura. The simple explanation is that when Sage of 6 Paths founded the ninja sect, as a big brother with excellent talent, and at the same time created the way of seal formation, it stands to reason that Indra is the best successor. But Sage of 6 Paths passed the ninja sect to the younger brother Ashura, and the conflict between the big brother and the younger brother arose. So that the descendants of the two, the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan, naturally had conflicts. With such an explanation, Itachi seems to be able to understand it. No wonder the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan have so much animosity. Sasuke, where did you know all this? Although it sounded reasonable, Itachi still had some doubts about its authenticity. After all, even their father had never mentioned such a thing. The question of true and false. Sasuke doesn't want to explain too much. Believe it or not. Seeing that Sasuke did not intend to tell where he learned this secret, Itachi became even more curious why Sasuke knew so much. Sasuke, if according to what you said, Sage of 6 Paths is the ancestor of Indra and Ashura, that is, Senju and Uchiha, then why is Sage of 6 Paths able to have a fairy body and fairy eyes? Itachi thought that this question would make it impossible for Sasuke to answer. However, Sasuke was silent for a few seconds. He continued, of course he inherited it from his mother. Mother? Sage of 6 Paths has a mother. It seems normal to have a mother. But who is the mother of Sage of 6 Paths, who was able to let Sage of 6 Paths inherit the body and eyes of the fairy? These two powerful abilities. He didn't need to ask Sasuke to continue talking. The mother of the Sage of 6 Paths, and also the god of creation, Insuke Kagaya. The Otsutsuki clan from another world, Big Barrel Wood? He had never heard of this surname Itachi, and he felt that the more Sasuke talked about it, the more he thought it was a fairy tale. The Otsutsuki clan aims to become a god, and we are all people who have inherited the blood of Otsutsuki, and we should also aim to become gods. Itachi, who was still thinking about the authenticity of Sasuke's stories, froze in place when he heard this sentence. Turn out to be, is this Sasuke's purpose? He wants to be a god. If so, then everything makes sense. No wonder this guy never cared about the Akatsuki organization, didn't care about Konoha, defected when he said he would defect, and even joined forces with Orochimaru. All problems are understood. Sasuke left Konoha because he could no longer grow in Konoha. So he stole the sealed book and left Konoha to be with Orochimaru. Although Orochimaru is Konoha's traitor, what Sasuke values is that Orochimaru can make Sasuke stronger. After joining the Akatsuki organization, the purpose is also very simple: to capture the tailed beast can further enhance one's strength. With Sasuke defeating 8 Tails Jinchuriki and 4th Raikage, staying in the Akatsuki organization has no way for Sasuke to continue to become stronger. So Sasuke chose to leave again, and became the shadow who challenged the 5 hidden villages like this. Because it will make Sasuke stronger again. The source of all problems has been found. Sasuke, you want to become a god? When Itachi asked this question, Sasuke smiled. Have no idea. His system is called the god-making system. Becoming a god is something he must do. And Sasuke also thinks this goal is very good. What's wrong with being a god who controls everything? That's right. The decisive answer made Itachi not know what to say for a while. However, Itachi suddenly thought of a question in the next second. Sasuke, what will happen to you if someone blocks your way to become a god? It was said that Sasuke didn't even think, then trample him down. Itachi smiled wryly, so no one can stop you from becoming a god? That's right. What if it's Konoha? Then destroy Konoha. But Sasuke doesn't think Konoha can stop himself from becoming a god. Just relying on the current Konoha. The current Konoha is nothing to worry about. Besides, why did Konoha block herself? It seems that you have been swallowed by your ambition, and your desire for power is too strong, which makes you bewitched. This kind of words made Sasuke very speechless, and he didn't intend to argue with Itachi. So what? Itachi glanced at Sasuke. Sasuke, go back to Konoha. God, that's just nothing. What if I say no? There was a sudden silence between the two. If you say no, then the next thing is to speak with strength. Then let me see how far you have reached in your desire to become a god. Itachi's eyes were a little cold, and Sasuke's expression also became serious. Then come on. The two fell silent after finishing speaking, and looked at each other. The next second, Tsukuyomi's face lifted. Sasuke thought Itachi would use the next time to torture him severely. But I didn't expect Itachi to directly remove Tsukuyomi's ability. Does this count as self-indulgence? Snort. I have the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. If I use the pupil technique to deal with you, it's too easy. Now I can release Tsukuyomi consecutively, even you can't stand it. Hearing this, Sasuke was a little disdainful. Possessing eternal Mangekyo can indeed release pupil technique multiple times in a short period of time. But the problem is that like Obito's Kamui, there is also a cooling time for reading. Even if it's only 10 or 5 seconds, it was enough for Sasuke to fight back too. However, Itachi seemed to feel as if he was determined to eat himself. You can use your pupil technique as you like. See how Sasuke doesn't seem to think he can beat him with Tsukuyomi. However, Itachi doesn't intend to demonstrate it to Sasuke, as using pupil technique consumes a lot of pupil power. Rather than using pupil art against Sasuke, it's better. Sasuke, your Susanoo should have been activated too. Hearing this, Sasuke understood. Show it off with Susanoo? Itachi nodded. Good. Sasuke nodded. Then come on. The eyes of the two collided in the air, and sparks burst out faintly. In the next second, the storm swept across, and Sasuke and Itachi burst out with light at the same time. Susanoo, open. Boom boom. The roar sounded. Sasuke and Itachi, one with red light and one with purple light. Neither of them opened the full-body Susanoo in the first place. But he directly summoned an arm, waved a huge fist, and slammed directly towards the opponent. The purple and red fists collided fiercely. Beep. In an instant, the sound of the air explosion was played out, and then the actual ripples spread, and the ground cracked instantly. The strong shock wave instantly cracked the surrounding walls. A series of eye-catching cracks spread continuously on the wall, climbing towards the surroundings. And the roar that erupted in this instant converged into a substantial sonic sweep. The house just fell apart. The figures of the two jumped out from the collapsed house directly to the roof, and the sound of the roar made Kimimaro cheer up immediately. Has it started yet? He looked up at the two figures that appeared on the roof. Looking at the two figures, one red and one purple, the Susanoo skeleton covering Sasuke and Itachi protected them from being injured by the collapsed house. I saw two people at war. Kimimaro took a light breath. Is it still over? On the roof, Itachi stared at Sasuke, feeling the aura emanating from Sasuke's Susanoo. I didn't expect that just relying on the pupil power of Mangekyo Sharingan, you could burst out such a powerful Susanoo. Itachi sighed. However, this phenomenon is very normal for Sasuke. Nothing surprising at all. You talk too much, Itachi. Do you want to continue? Hearing that Itachi didn't say much, of course. The pupil power of the two exploded instantly, and Susanoo suddenly expanded. In the blink of an eye, the semi-complete Susanoo appeared. A half-length Susanoo appeared directly, confronting each other with a sword in his hand. Itachi's Susanoo has a 10-fist sword in one hand and a Yata mirror in one hand. The 10-fist sword can absorb and seal anyone, while the Yata mirror can defend against all physical attacks. It has to be said that Itachi's Susanoo is so powerful that it can be regarded as an extremely special existence among Susanoo. As expected of the Weasel God. However, Sasuke's Susanoo is the Maga Kobo of the sky and the Kakulo of the sky. Of course, ordinary swords can also be summoned to attack. Although there is no special ability, but the attack power is extremely amazing. Watching Sasuke's Susanoo take out the bow and arrow, Itachi smiled. It seems my Susanoo just restrained you, Sasuke. Hearing this, Sasuke frowned. Itachi's Susanoo, with a shield in one hand and a long sword in the other, really restrained his bow and arrow. But Susanoo's fighting power is not a simple weapon. Sasuke sneered. Really? Then we will wait and see. After saying that, Sasuke was ready to attack immediately, and Susanoo drew his bow and arrows to aim at Itachi. The Kagyu of heaven is lost. It burst out in an instant, and this instant controlled Susanoo to raise the shield. He easily blocked Kagyushi's attack, but the terrifying impact made him retreat 5 or 6 meters. Feeling such an astonishing impact, it was too late to react. In the next second, Sasuke's Susanoo swung his arm directly and slashed down fiercely. The same Itachi also controlled Susanoo to greet him with a 10-fist sword. The two Susanoos began to slash at each other frantically. Between swords, lights and swords, red light and purple light alternate with each other. Although Sasuke is restrained, relying on more exquisite sword skills, Sasuke can guarantee the same level as Itachi. No one can help anyone. The storm continued to blow, and Kimimaro below watched the fierce battle between the two against the strong wind. Uchiha's power. Is it so terrifying? However, this is only the state of a half-full body. Itachi's eyes narrowed slightly, and the next second, Susanoo appeared in full body, wearing all the Watengu armor at the same time. When Sasuke sees this, he also activates the full body of Susanoo, and the full body of Susanoo is different. Under a knife, Sasuke's Susanoo backed up again and again. In terms of pupil power, Sasuke is weaker than Itachi. If this is the case, then Sasuke can't stop Itachi's Susanoo. Looks like we need to work harder. Sasuke closed his eyes, and the moment he opened them again in the next second, Sage Transformation was activated. The celestial chakra exploded into Susanoo's body. The fairy art Susanoo is activated. The whole body is covered with black lines. Suddenly the power of Sasuke's Susanoo increases sharply. Bang bang. One sword. The strength of the two Susanoos was evenly matched. Itachi looked at Sasuke, and the black lines on Sasuke's Susanoo's body in surprise. As this. The magic chakra. Although Itachi felt this weird chakra fluctuation for the first time, he also knew that Sasuke knew how to Sage Mode. Being able to combine chakra and Susanoo together, Sasuke's talent will bring surprises every time. It seems that there is only a protracted war. I didn't expect that Susanoo, the celestial being, can only keep stable in front of you, since this is the case. Then show you the stronger Susanoo, Sasuke smiled. Clap your hands suddenly. Seeing this action, Itachi froze for a moment. This is. The moment Sasuke clasped his hands together, a stressful chakra wave erupted instantly. Seeing this movement, Itachi seemed to see a phantom on Sasuke's body for some reason. And who is this phantom? Itachi doesn't know. But this man is definitely strong. I've had this idea for a long time, Itachi. You are the first person to let me use this trick. Take a good look. Even a tailed beast can't stop this blow. Itachi's breathing became a little heavy. He now has a bad premonition in his heart, suddenly. Sasuke's voice sounded. Wood style, wood style. Sasuke with wood style. Itachi frowned and stared at Sasuke. In the next second, a huge wood-style vine man suddenly sprang up from the surrounding ground, sweeping towards Sasuke crazily. Immediately after blinked, they gathered to form a figure. Wooden golem jutsu. Boom. In an instant, the wooden golem rose from the ground and emerged directly from Sasuke's feet. The tall wooden golem is about the same height as Susanoo. Itachi was still surprised when he saw wooden golem appear, wood style. Sasuke's wood style seems to be the same as the rumored first Hokage. The next step is the main event. Itachi is optimistic. Prestige, Susanoo. Boom. Suddenly Susanoo covered wooden golem's body. The purple light shone, and an even stronger momentum erupted instantly. Sasuke stands on top of the wooden golem, surrounded by pentagonal crystals of condensed energy. A strong breath spread out, holding the power of the energy long sword in both hands. Susanoo's aura now far surpassed Itachi's. Sasuke looked at Itachi, who was stunned. How about it? Such a Susanoo, ho! Combining the power of wood style and Susanoo, wooden golem is enough to replace tailed beast, so Sasuke thought of this new form of Susanoo. It can be regarded as a successful imitation of Madara's prestige Susanoo. In this state, wooden golem's power plus Susanoo's power can easily crush the tailed beast. To put it bluntly, Sasuke doesn't even care about the tailed beast bomb. It can be taken away with a single tap, and the combination of wood style and Susanoo seems to fit better than imagined. There seems to be a special reaction between the two superimposed on each other. Wooden golem's color has changed, becoming black, and Susanoo's color is also more black. Wooden golem itself represents yang escape, while Susanoo represents yin escape. Wooden golem plus Susanoo may have just matched the power of the combination of yin and yang, just like a new energy has been directly transformed. Sasuke's outfit, Susanoo, seems to have the ability to suppress the enemy chakra. Feeling this, Sasuke's eyes sparkled. Raise your hand. The movement was fast and powerful, and it slashed directly on Itachi's Yata mirror, and the huge force directly slashed Itachi and Susanoo away in an instant. Boom boom boom. The Itachi flew backwards quickly, gliding on the ground for a distance of nearly 100 meters before slowly stopping. And in the next second, Sasuke's majestic outfit, Susanoo, suddenly fell from the sky, and with an astonishing gust of wind, he stabbed straight down. Instantly pierced Itachi Susanoo's chest. Immediately, Itachi felt that his Susanoo seemed to be frozen. Unable to control Susanoo's movement or counterattack. And looking at Sasuke in front of him, Itachi was shocked. Sasuke was able to explode with this level of strength. It's just unbelievable. I already have the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, and the pupil power far exceeds that of Sasuke. Why? Why was Sasuke so easily overwhelmed? Itachi still wanted to struggle, but Sasuke controlled the costume's Susanoo and directly grabbed Itachi's Susanoo. A circle of fierce bombardment on Itachi Susanoo's stomach. Beat Itachi out again. Itachi in the air suddenly opened his eyes. The pupil power once again exploded to the limit, even for Itachi, who had activated Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. This kind of outbreak is also about to reach his limit. Crazy drinking sounded. Susanoo, who raised her hands high, instantly condensed one hook after another in her hands. Susanoo's unique attack ability, Yusaka Gyu. The Yusaka Gyu condensed with all the remaining pupil power was formed instantly. 3-hooked jade emerged in Itachi Susanoo's hands, and they turned quickly like shurikens. In the next second, Susanoo was directly controlled by the Itachi in the air and threw it in the direction of Sasuke. Swish. The sudden sound of breaking wind swept over. The terrifying strong wind swept across the ground continuously, as if it swept across the ground in an instant with a destructive storm. What it passed was only the aftermath, causing a deep gully to appear on the ground. He rushed to Sasuke as quickly as a flash, looking at such an astonishingly destructive attack. Kimimara's heart tightened. Such an attack is not easy to receive. And the speed is too fast to dodge at all. Too late for Susanoo's huge body. Kimimaro couldn't help clenching his fists, however, the next second. The blade with a faint black light was raised instantly. The melodious sound of knives instantly resounded through the sky. At the same time, a black light flashed past, and Itachi was stunned. Kimimaro was also stunned. Even Ju, who was observing secretly, was also stunned. Everyone's eyes showed a strong look of disbelief. How can it be? Itachi's attack with all its strength, originally everyone thought it would hit Sasuke hard, no matter how bad it would be hard for Sasuke to resist. But no idea. Sasuke's Susanoo is just a knife. Instantly killed Yusaka Gyu, destroyed, without the slightest suspense. When the light of Yusaka Gyu completely dissipated, Sasuke's majestic outfit Susanoo slowly straightened his chest, and then Sasuke looked proudly at the Itachi in the distance. At this moment, Itachi had already stopped, and the Susanoo on his body had slowly dissipated. His pupil power has been exhausted. Never stick a head on a tree. He stared dumbfounded at the scene in front of him. Is this the end? Itachi, who possessed the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, lost to Uchiha Sasuke. And it was completely crushed. Uchiha Sasuke, his wood style has completely reached the level comparable to Senju Hashirama. Fear flickered in Ju's eyes. A perfect combination of Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara. He couldn't imagine how terrifying such a person would be. The plan. Maybe it should be greatly adjusted. Congratulations to host for defeating Uchiha Itachi. Reward. The last part of Indra Chakra's awakening.